stories unfold, and the chat's got soul. From the gavel to the gas, we're watching it all. Covering the courtroom, big case or small. Laugh when we can, cry when we must, but it's all real talk, you can count on us. We're not the pros, just fans who care, with popcorn in hand and a comfy chair. And every twist, we're right there, together like we're all in the witness chair. This is the Broken Baker, where the trials come alive, where the chat is wild and the vibes survive. We're watching the worst of what people do, but we keep it light, yeah, that's our truth. It's the only place for crime, and it feels just right. We bring the justice talk into your night, so hit that stream, don't miss the call. At the Broken Baker, we cover it all. Oh yeah. We're just flaming with the view, but we ask the things the world wants to. Digging through the facts, side by side. Even when it's dark, we bring the light. No clickbait, no fake feels, just truth and the highs and the reels. With the chat that roasts and rises, we're just here for the case and the vibes. This is the Broken Baker, where the stories unfold, with a smile in the heart, even when it's cold. Yeah, we cover the bad with a wink and a grin, where the real talk starts, come on, jump in. It's the only place to be, can't you see? For trials and truth, it's BBTV. The Broken Baker, where the trials come alive. Yeah, we'll be here, trial of the trial. Yeah.
Good, welcome back for part 2 of day 3. And thank you, Needs More Cowbell, for becoming a member. It is the only place to be. Hey, Dodo. Mr. Hellfish. We are about to be back for another hour and 15 minutes of... So it's going to be absolutely amazeballs. Or maybe it'll be a little bit annoying that we have to sit through this. But I'm also kind of sensing we are about done with the state's case in chief. We had the first responding officer. We had the dad to talk about the pew-pew. We had the person who spotted him. We had the arresting officer. We had the medical examiner. We had the crime scene tech. Now we have the interview. That's normally where they are about to land the plane. Then they might be calling the lead investigator back and talk a little bit, but I'm just saying. I'm not going to say anything, Danny T. I'm just saying Marissa is not allowed to say anything because she jinxes it every time. Exactly. Knock on penis. I mean, wood. Hey, Akasha. How are you doing? But is this interview helping him? I don't know how much you caught from it. And I will, of course, Holly Mac, as you asked, I will refrain from pulling up chat, so you'll just have to follow along in chat because I can't move the text up like I can with the text we get from court. But to me, it sounded kind of like premeditation because he was angry at her. She was kind of testing him. And he kind of allowed her to do it because he wanted that nuclear family. But it also seemed like he was kind of at his wit's end and he didn't want to do this anymore. And yeah. Hey, Jen. Why is your penis erect is the more worrying thing. Because I'm looking at all you beautiful people in chat. That's why, Coke Fairy. Yes, I can sum it up for the new people here. Oh, I was in Maine with family since last Friday, back in Virginia with lots of chores to do. First, freeze warning tonight. Kelly DD and Big Dog. This is a case where allegedly, according to the defense, husband and wife were in a kind of a, we're probably going to break up. She had spent some time with her family in Minnesota or somewhere. I forgot now. Sorry. Came back and was at the house where they got into an argument. The argument is kind of weird. There's a lot of things that makes you go, But he claims that she was holding the 4-year-old daughter. They have a 1-year-old as well, but she was holding the 4-year-old. He wanted to take the 4-year-old from her because he didn't want her to do something. And while he's trying to get this 4-year-old away from her, she does something to the 4-year-old, so she screams, and he just feels the only way to solve this is grab a pew-pew, and while he is holding his 4-year-old, he blasts her in the face. She might have been nagging. All of that, you're thinking, that's pretty dumb. But he's then claiming self-defense of others by trying to help this poor 4-year-old child. Even though at the time he fires the pistol, he has full control of the kid, and the kid is not holding on to mama anymore. He then takes the 4-year-old and puts it in the car where apparently the 1-year-old had been the entire time. Another little thing, why? But they then drives because he wanted to leave the state, but then he wanted to get breakfast at 9 o'clock in the evening, and they go to an Applebee's where some random lady who used to work for LA Dispatch heard an Amber Alert that this car was being looked at, and she said, "Oh, that's the car. Are you sure?" "Yeah, I can remember the number plates." And he's arrested. He is totally compliant. Nothing there. He tells them where his pew-pew is and everything. We have gotten to the part now where they're interviewing him. But a few things. Apparently, she was about to leave him and maybe take custody of the kids. That's the state's theory. That's why he does it, because the state wants to take, she wants to take the kids away. So he decides to blow her away. According to the first arriving officer, she is slung in the sofa with her legs on the floor. According to the crime scene investigator, she is in a position in the sofa where she is leaned back, but with one foot on the coffee table with a blanket wrapped around her, which, again, why do you have to self-defense from something who is either sitting on a couch or sitting on a couch with a foot on a table? That sounded kind of weird. And then today we had the medical examiner. The medical examiner told us that she had a single gunshot wound. That gunshot wound was approximately here. And straight out on the other side. So, first of all, you're fighting to get your daughter away from your wife because she's hurting your daughter, which is, hey, don't hurt your kids. But when you have the weapon, you already have control of your daughter. Your wife is a 5' nothing. She has no weapons. You are 5'10", a former Marine. You can't push her down. You can't push her away and just leave the premises. You now have a force multiplier. You can just put that in her face and say, don't do it. And you hit her here. So is she doing this? Or are you just walking up to her? Because the way she's seated in the sofa, do you just walk up to her and takes her out? Because Apparently, she had been wanting to move to New England or that area up there, and he wanted to be in a desert. But the injuries to her makes it very hard for me to get this to be a self-defense, even self-defense of others. Because why would you place the weapon here if you are having your daughter that you're wrestling from her, you grab the force multiplier, why would you put it here? Why wouldn't you just... That would be the most common way, even though this hopefully is not that common. But you get control of the kid, and then you blast her. Again, now you have a weapon, you have your kids. Why don't you retreat? And the findings of her in that position doesn't scream to me that she was coming over the table trying to attack you or the kid or anything. It's going to be very interesting to see how the defense is going to go about this. The defense spent a lot of the first day talking about how, as a Marine, he is taught to act. And they stopped doing that because I think they might have found out that that's not how a Marine is taught to act. But she's still batshit crazy. Yeah, but you're not allowed to unalive batshit crazy people. We saw that in the videos we watched yesterday, Brandon. No such thing as former Marines. Once a jarhead, always a jarhead, so I've been told. Well, there's a reason why crayons still sell so well, because Marines need their lunchboxes. What have I done now? What Viking ship? What happened? I feel like Bender wasn't built for this trial. This is exactly what Bender was built for. Showing all of this. What did I do now? I don't know what did I do now? I thought you were just coming in here to give me the numbers for your heat bill. I'm her size. Trust me, my husband could easily control me with one hand at any point in the last 40 years. Yeah. I was just about to say I am going to be a selective misogynist. Well, you're always a misogynist. This channel is the misogynist channel. Everyone who watches this channel is a misogynist because I am a misogynist. Everyone knows that. So I was talking to all your Swedish compatriots, and I have a question. Will a condiment make it through customs? If it's in a sealed pack, yes, it will. But it has to be factory sealed, so it, and of course not illegal in the country you try and take it into, but as long as it's factory sealed, there should be no problems. I carry a lot of candy every time I go to Los Estados Unidos. And I did that. I think I got all of them now, Brandon. The only one I didn't get was, Everybody probably thinks Marines are trained to be unalived and discriminate. No, I think it has nothing to do with her political stance. I just think that she hopes that the state... Oh, that's going to turn down there. I just think that they think that, oh, let's say he's a Marine so many times that they feel sorry for him. Female with A-positive blood are A-okay in my book. The rest of them nasty Richard mittens with even looser morals. 2K for the heat bill. Yeah, then imagine having a 5 times
Thank you. Please
higher.
be seated.
I'm trying. That's why you watch with someone.
Your Honor, for the record, the state will resume playing State's Exhibit 26A for presentation purposes.
Thank you.
And now I'll take the chats off the screen. I'm picking this one. Boost that one.
But this is part of the issues that she was running into all sorts of money problems, and I definitely did not have a good income. I mean, I was basically pretty much fully I had to go further in debt just to get that move going. But then I felt like, oh, okay, obviously once I just get settled in, then I get stabilized, get to work. But anyway, she kept asking for more and more money, and I actually, this started when we were in Minnesota too. She kept asking for money. Right away, this would have been like August or September, I don't remember. But right away, she wanted $2,000 a month, in which there's no chance that I could have done that at the time.
Which you did this,
Yes. Because again, so basically from July, August, till now, basically, I had like a few $100 more, but I was basically living fully off of the disability. And so obviously 2,000 a month, that's, yeah, there's no chance I could have done that. But she just like kept threatening, well, okay, I'm going to take the kids away, and so I tried, basically, to like placate her, I was sending her like whatever I could. So I remember like right away when she sent me, or when she was yelling at me about sending $2,000 every month to her, that, because again, there's no chance I could do that. But I ended up sending her $500, and then just every month it was basically the same things of her wanting more money with threats of taking the kids away, and I couldn't do that. And there was a few times like I was sending, I don't remember the exact amounts, but I'm sure they can be looked up, but I would send like $100 one month and like $200 another month. And anyways, so I guess, yeah, I forgot because I went on a tangent. I do that a lot. But because what were we talking about? The New Hampshire?
Yep, you would move to New Hampshire on January 23rd. She began asking for $2,000 a month, and then threatening me.
But that was, when she asked for $2,000 a month, that was August or September, when we first got to Minnesota.
And then you paid whatever you could.
Yes. But yeah, up to New Hampshire, up to now. Once I got to New Hampshire, then she got very aggressive about how she was going to keep Valen in Minnesota unless I started paying her money. And she got into a whole thing, and it got really bad when we had a phone call to where she was yelling that she was going to have me arrested, and she was just straight up lying about I would like to remember exactly what our phone call was before we started guessing. But anyways, she was basically threatening to like put me in prison and take the kids away and all this stuff, and I did not bite. I just was saying I'm not gonna play these games. And the conversation just ended, and I was reaching out to her family. I was talking to her, I guess a little bit more details. Her dad is her adopted dad, and he's in a different relationship, and then her mom is in so this is something I did the entire time. So these past like year, really, I've been in contact with both of them, both the families, trying to talk everything out, because my conversations with Caitlyn would never go anywhere, and so I was trying to get her family to help out. But anyway, so I talked to both of their families and saying kind of what was going on. By that time, Caitlyn had stopped talking to her mom altogether and told me not to talk to her mom. However, I did reach out to her mom after she like threatened to arrest me and stuff and take me physically. But I'd also been talking to her dad about it. But she doesn't tell anyone anything. So even when her dad tried to, he went to her where she was staying, the house that she was staying. And I was basically just trying to be like, trying to ask him, hey, can you check on Valen? Because I wasn't seeing Valen. So basically like, hey, is Valen okay? And he went over there and apparently Valen was just sleeping and then he didn't ask to see Valen. And then he just didn't push it either because she wouldn't tell him anything. And he didn't push the subject. So he, and this is in text, but he just basically texted back to me saying, like, yeah, she just doesn't tell me anything. So he's like, so he just texted me, hey, I went over there, Valen was asleep, so we didn't see her. And then I was basically saying, oh, so she just, like, she didn't say anything, but like nothing was happening. Like she did just have this explosive argument. And he just said, no. And I'm not gonna get, obviously, and the text will show what exactly his words were, but he basically just said, she doesn't tell me anything. But after I had reached back out to my Minnesota lawyer because I was really afraid that something would start, that she would try to lie about something.
Sorry, Holly, I forgot.
I guess I'll say in general. Well, again, I don't remember. Like, don't quote me specifically on this, but where it would. The big thing that she was lying about on our phone call was that I had taken Ellen to New Hampshire without her permission, which is not true whatsoever. We didn't actually sign anything, which I actually did have a conversation with her about it, and I talked to some other people, because obviously that would help. But I also felt like so many people knew the situation. It was like there were so many people that we had been talking to, and again, her dad was at this meeting that we had in October where we were kind of talking about this, and she hadn't agreed to it and everything. So I felt like that, even without any sort of written thing, that just wouldn't hold up in court. But anyways, so and now I forgot where I was originally at with that. Of her.
It was just the dad check on Caitlyn.
Yeah.
So they got to think. I'm not sure when Caitlyn moves to New Hampshire or comes to New Hampshire, but
Yeah. I was talking about to where I was reaching out to this same Minnesota attorney that I've been talking to previously. I reached out to her again and was saying, hey, I think like she's gonna try and pull something. Like, and this is where I was going, because I was afraid that she was gonna lie to police or whoever, and I was gonna have some like raid on the house randomly. which I would hope that no one would do, because you would do like some sort of due diligence instead of just like randomly taking someone's word and then coming to a house. But I did actually call the Berlin Police Department too, because my lawyers, I was asking again my lawyer, like, hey, should I like give the police a heads up and be like, yo, there's a civil thing going on and she's trying to make some stuff up. So I did actually call the Berlin Police Department. And
I'm just curious. It's not totally relevant. I'm just curious. So you come here on January 33rd. When did you call Brown Police? Do you know the month?
I
don't want to assume, but it sounds like it's after several months of making some payments. Is that accurate?
No, I mean, we don't.
Thank you, Zach. I will stay off screen a little bit longer. I'm off screen so you can easier read it, and I do have my emblem in the corner, but thank you, Zach. What was he supposedly lying about? Something on his hard drive, drugs? Did I miss it? I don't know. I can't figure it out. I am not doing anything of that order. I am actually sitting here trying to listen to it. Jeepers Christ. You guys, as soon as I'm off screen and Jamie is not here, you turn into this. So he was afraid she would lie, so he put her in the head with his 4-year-old in his arm. Was he afraid she was going to lie to the attorney and get him in prison? Or I'm not 100% sure what he's saying. I would never. This is a Christian channel.
We've only been here for
Just a month.
Yeah.
You say you don't remember what you called just to give them a hand.
Like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Just all this stuff. Like again with the Berlin Police Department, like that. Obviously, the call logs. It's going to have that. And I don't even know if you can get the actual voice calls.
No.
Okay. Yeah. But you can at least see the call log that I did call the Berlin Police Department, whatever it was.
And all the text messages.
Yes. But anyways, but they said anyways, like, hey, we would get involved anyways. But I talked to the lawyer. The big issue though was that I just didn't have money, and so the lawyer wanted a retainer, obviously, $4,000, and I was trying to figure out how to get $4,000. Because my thought was, okay, like this is gonna go to court, because if she's gonna refuse to bring Caitlyn here, like this is, or like whatever, and continually just make up these lies, like I don't know, if she never gave me permission to take it home. I was like, well, there's no shot. Like I have to figure out how to get this retainer. But then, because the move, I got a credit card to help with the move, and so my credit was dipping. And I tried to go to like the credit union right in Berlin, and I did apply there to try and get $4,000, and they actually denied me, and it was mainly just because of my income, because I didn't show any income outside of it. But they denied me, and I was like, really, I didn't want to sell my car. I do. My car's paid off, but I did not want to sell my car, so I was really trying to figure out like how to pay for some of this stuff that's on my car. But after having conversations with like getting back to her dad, saying, oh, like, she didn't say anything, she's like, apparently everything's just fine. Then I texted her, so again, this a text, where I was like, I guess part of her argument to where, again, to what this big one, to where she was like threatening to arrest me or whatever, to where she was asking for more money, but part of that too was that she wanted to put both the kids on her taxes. And all I said, and that sucks that you can't get the voice calls, but hopefully over time my word will hold some weight. But I forgot what I was saying. The voice call.
Yeah, I think she was,
Oh, yeah, to where she wanted to put both the kids on her taxes. And I was thinking about it for a minute, and again, like I will say, I was not biting on her, like overly aggressive, like I'm gonna arrest you. I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm not playing these games. But basically, when she said, "Oh, I'm gonna," because that's how definitely she put it, she's going to put the kids on her taxes. That made me second guess because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if there was something like, would that give leverage in my custody or something like that? So on the phone call, I literally just said, I didn't even say no. I just said, well, let me get back to you because I'm not sure. Like, I openly said, fine, you can claim bathing, but like Ellen's with me right now. She was like, you left her in Nevada. Like I had her most of the time in Minnesota. So my initial thought was, well, if there's something like custody-wise, I don't want to agree to anything right now. And so I literally just said, well, let me look into it. But anyways, obviously I wouldn't shoot her like that. But now going back to after I had heard her dad telling me, oh, like she was acting like nothing different had been happening. Then I texted her saying, will you bring Valen out here if I just agree to you putting Ellen and Valen on your taxes? And she just simply put yes. And so then I was like, okay. So she agreed to do it. By the way, I did pay for her plane ticket. That's probably, she bought, this is probably an important part of it, she bought the plane ticket already. She did. And then I Venmoed her the amount. So she texted me like the receipt when I Venmoed her the amount for the ticket. So that obviously that would be another part of like evidence of how, like, I wasn't like coercing her to do this. Like she did this stuff, and then so it wasn't like, well, whatever.
was it a round trip? I'm just curious.
Yes.
So she was planning on to go back.
Yes. And yes, that is important. And well, obviously,
For both?
you can. What's that?
For both her and the round trip?
Well, I think because she's one, she doesn't need a ticket.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
right on
I always forget that too because it's, but anyway. Okay.
So yeah. But anyways, so yeah, and again, this is all in texts. I texted her that, and this was after like a week of no contact. I basically just texted her, hey, will you still bring Valen out here if you, or if I say yes to you putting both the kids on your taxes? And she just, one word, yes. So I said, okay, and then we continued to try and plan. And this was another text that is going to be very relevant, but, and yet actually I can't remember what she had texted previously. It'd be kind of useful to have this stuff, but Somehow the conversation, the text conversation, got into like what were her plans of being here, like what was she trying to do. And I texted something along the lines of, I'm assuming that you're going to want to stay at the house for at least a few days. And this was because I'm like, well, why would you come here and not want to see the element or whatever? And she then texted, no, I don't want to, and then again, you can look at the text. So I'm going to refer to the text. So I'm not going to be, my memory isn't going to be perfect, but it was something along the lines of, no, I don't want to feel trapped there at your house. And so I just said, okay, because that made it super simple for me. Like, that means that all she wants to do is just drop off Valen and leave. And I'm like, perfect. So then that was always the plan. Now, going forward to, I guess I'm going to 27th when she got here. It's 27th, Tuesday.
I can't look at my phone. Yeah, this is 28th, this is week versus 29th, it's Thursday.
Yeah. So, I believe Tuesday was the 27th, which is when she flew in here. She was then texting me about how, and I don't know how much to actually talk about because I don't know what's even relevant or what even matters. But I'll say it just my thought process is like everything is relevant. But anyways, she had texted, I think on the 27th or on the 26th, so Monday or Tuesday, about how she now had to pay for transportation and food and all this stuff, and so she wanted money. And this is in text. So my response was just, well, I don't have money to send you, and my text was basically something along the lines of, I was trying to save a couple $100, and I think I did say $200. I was trying to save $200 just for when Valen got here, and so I could get her like whatever she needs. So it was like stuff like, because the house has floorboard heaters, and so stuff like, well, I probably need to get like a barrier for the floor heaters so she can get in front of it. It was like stuff like that, or like food for her. So I was like, well, I wanted to try and make sure that I had $200, and I was like, I could send you $100. If that will make a difference, I will send you $100. And she did say, okay, and so I sent her $100. And then, so I didn't hear anything on Tuesday, which I wasn't planning to, but then on Wednesday was supposed to be when we were meeting up for her to drop off Valen.
Yes, it's because it's a clock in the courtroom that's insanely loud. But this is the best we can do because it's not a direct feed. We are watching someone watching on a television, so that's why that clock is there to screw with our sanity. It looks like we are almost halfway. Can we just get to the part where he pew-pewed her? Nothing is happening. I mailed her some money. She was blackmailing me. She wanted to put the kids on the taxes. I have disability. Oh, you should look at this text message. Get to the part where pew, 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 pew. It's not something you do. It's something that YouTube does for us. Yeah, and we are in for another hour of this. I wish they would stop him and say, buddy, let's do this. Hey, I knew what she meant. Well, nothing will happen. It's sadly YouTube just does it all the time. Well, he thinks all his yakking will somehow make sense to someone and justify his side of the story, whatever that is. So far, all I have figured out is they were not in a happy place, and they, yeah, she wanted to stay somewhere else, and he didn't want that, and he then said, "Hey, you can get them on the taxes if you want, just as long as you get here so I can see my kids," which I think is fine that you want to see your kids.
Brenda lives in Hampton, which was where, so Caitlyn flew into Boston. I'm assuming Brenda picked her up from the airport. I don't actually know. But I'm assuming she picked her up from the airport, Boston, and then brought her to Hampton. Again, I'm assuming she wasn't staying with Brenda. I shouldn't even say that. I don't even know if she was staying with Brenda. She might have been staying in one of the properties, because I think she was going to like seeing the properties. So that's like, I'm assuming she was staying at around the but anyway, so that's obviously that's like over 3 hours from Berlin, Hampton to Berlin. And so I was basically, and then I got this long text, I was basically saying like, well, okay, well, let's try and be in the middle because I don't really want to drive 6 hours and whatever. So I basically picked a spot pretty much right in the middle. It was like, is that Alcina? Also yeah, and it was, we agreed to meet at Harlem Jacks.
We were wasting there, but yeah, we can figure it out.
Yeah, it was just like it's not just a restaurant that was like right on 16.
Okay.
Because obviously that's what I was trying to be like, well, okay, let's try and meet somewhere in the middle, so it was like an hour and a half drive for both of us. So then, but I was texting her, like, trying to get her questions of like, well, okay, so Brenda's driving me there, and then she said that Brenda was just dropping her off. And then that made me text like, well, okay, and again, these are in the text. I then was asking like, well, okay, is she picking you up afterwards? And she just never responded to that. But I was just immediately confused. Like, is she just going to leave and then come back? Because that doesn't make any sense. Because like, why would you leave, drive an hour and a half back to Hampton, and then what? Like, are we planning to be at the restaurant for like 5 hours? No, but anyways, but she never responded to that. I got there. She then texted that something had happened to the washer and dryer or something like that, and so they're like an hour late, which was fine. I was just there. We just were hanging out. I was hanging out at a restaurant. Then she got dropped off. She called me to come outside. When she got dropped off, so I never even saw Brenda. She just got dropped off and I came out to the front of the restaurant. She had she had a couple bags of Valen's stuff. And then she said, hey, here's the stuff, like, basically saying she didn't want to bring it inside, so I should just take it and put it in the trunk. So it's like, just grab the stuff and put it in the trunk, and then leave it inside, and just ate. Obviously, I hadn't seen Valen in like over a month at that point. She had obviously not seen Ellen, and so basically there wasn't much conversation between Caitlyn and I. It was more so like, just cigarette taste, Valen, and that was just kind of, that was where my head was. And then after a while, she started, which is something she does, because she doesn't want to talk to me, so she'll talk to her kids, like, with me there. And so she was like, hey, should I come to your house? Like, asking Ellen that. And immediately, I was like, and again, obviously, none of this would have happened if I followed them good. But I immediately was like, this feels like a bad idea. Because this was never part of the plan. She specifically said she did not, and again, it's in the text, that she did not want to come to the house because she didn't want to feel trapped. But anyways, I immediately I was not happy about it. But, and I started asking, like, well, where's Brenda? Like, is she not coming back to pick you up? And she was just saying, no. And I just decided, like, okay, if she just wants to come here, see the place, and then, like, stay the night, I guess, with the kids, fine. But she was not going to stay there any longer than that. So we went back, I drove her up to the place. Then everything was fine that night. I set up, because before my pods, the remainder of our stuff, I had in pods from Nevada. Before I had that shipped out, I got an air mattress for them. I just slept on, so I had an air mattress. So that night, which would have been Wednesday night, then she stayed the night there, filled up that air mattress. And everything was fine. Again, we didn't talk much. It was just like, again, I was just happy to have him there. And what I would assume is that she was happy to be with Ellen. The next day, though, I kept asking, and I should say this too, the previous night, when I was saying, like, basically whenever I was asking about, hey, like, is Brenda gonna come and get you, or like, what's the plan, she would never answer that question. And so that night, I didn't push it, because I really didn't want to, because it's like, it's difficult to deal with her, so I just let the night be, and then the following day, I started asking her, hey, when's Brenda come and pick you up? And she was, at first, just refusing to answer. Like, she wouldn't do anything. She would just go into the kids' room and just, like, play with the kids. And so I was literally, like, standing at the door, like, is Brenda picking you up? Like, what are you doing? And she just wouldn't answer. And I was very calm the entire time, just every like 15 minutes, and like, hey, what's the plan? And eventually she just started saying that she wasn't going to leave. And then we got into a conversation of, no, you texted, you didn't want to be here in the first place, and I don't want you here. I didn't plan for this. Like, we have, like, me and the kids, whatever, like, we weren't planning on you even being here in the first place. Like, I don't want you here. And then she just said, no, I'm staying here and I'm not leaving. And that went on the entire day of her refusing to leave. And as it escalated more and more, she started getting more and more aggressive about how, you know, I'm going to take the kids away from you, I'm going to call the cops, I'm going to get you arrested, all this stuff. And then, obviously, as things got more and more aggressive, if you can tell by kind of my demeanor, I'm a very calm person. I think everyone, you know, I'm a very calm person. It takes a lot to get me riled up. But that is the one thing, and there is definitely a lot more to my emotional attachment to the kids, but that is the one thing that does set it off, is like these continued threats of taking the kids away from me. And it was just getting to the point to where just the entire day of me trying to be like, you cannot be here, call Brenda, and I didn't have Brenda's number. And I was literally thinking that, like, I need to text someone to try and get Brenda's number so I can talk to her, trying to be like, hey, you need to come get her. But yeah, I didn't have a number, and it just didn't get to that. But yeah, it just got to the point to where she kept doing that, and then I guess for what obviously we're all here about, It was probably a good half an hour up to where she grabbed Ellen. I was not letting Ellen go. I had taken Valen and put her in a car seat and was like, no, we need to go. And I was like, I don't even care if Brenda comes here or not. Like, I will drive you 3 hours down to Hampton. I do not care. But we're going to leave. We cannot remain here anymore. And then again, it was just the progressive, like, whatever, her just again fighting to take the kids. Saying that, yeah, she just wasn't going to leave, and then she was going to take Valen and I went back to Minnesota, all this stuff, and it just kind of hit a breaking point, especially with her holding Ellen in her arms and not letting her go, because there were a couple times where I went up and I grabbed Ellen and was like, let go of Ellen. I will say, and I never, not that it even matters, but I'll just say, I never like hit her or touched her or anything like that. Not Caitlyn. Obviously, that's whatever. Anyways, but I was trying to grab Ellen and be like, "Hey, let go of Ellen," and she just wouldn't do it. And that was like kind of the tick. And the moment was, and this, because it was, I don't even know, I don't even know if it was like training or not, but it was definitely very deliberate and fast. It was like the line had been crossed and my mind was just like snapped. And my gun, so I guess I'll set the scene. I assume people have seen this scene. She was on the couch, holding Ellen, and not letting her go. My gun was on my desk to the left. After a couple attempts of me trying to grab Ellen and her not letting go, it was very, very fast, very deliberate. I went and grabbed the gun. I'm someone who does not keep a round chambered, but it was just very quick. I just like grabbed it, chambered it, grabbed Ellen, pulled her back, and shot. It was very immediate, obviously.
Didn't he just? Oh, Zach sadly got muted by Brandon. Didn't he just admit that this was premeditated? She didn't want to let the kid go, so I just got mad, grabbed my gun, and shot her in the face. What the? It happened in Berlin. Let's go back and try and read this. It was, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if it was like training or not, but it was definitely very deliberate. Very deliberate. Doesn't that scream you knew what you were doing? It was like the line has been crossed and my mind was just like snapped. What does that have to do with self-defense? And my gun, so I guess I'll set the scene while and I'm assuming people have seen the scene. She was on the couch holding Elovan and not letting her go. My gun was on my desk to the left. After a couple of times of me trying to grab Evelyn, or however it is, and her not letting go, it was very, very fast, very deliberate. Again, deliberate. I went and grabbed the gun, and I'm someone who does not keep a round chambered, but it was just very quick. I just like grabbed it, chambered it, grabbed Elovan, pulled her back, and shot. The second you get your kid, there's no reason to shoot. You secured. The defense should have tried and argued PTSD and heat of passion to try and get manslaughter. No way this was self-defense. Is anyone, put a 1 in chat if you see self-defense in this one? You are allowed to hold on to your kid. Does he have more rights to carry that kid around? Well, it's kind of what was said as I heard it as well, because I kept hearing that word deliberate. And deliberate to me screams you wanted to kill her. You wanted to kill her. Because there's no reason the instant you have the kids in your arms, there's no reason to shoot. No reason to shoot. Absolutely not. No matter if you're a Marine or not. Yeah, and that's not going to work either, Fedorowski. You know you're sleeping on the couch. Isn't it self-defense, defense of others? The kid were being hurt, according to him. No, he's not saying that he was being the kid was being hurt. She was just holding the kid, and he wanted the kid, and she wouldn't let go of the kid. He's not saying he was hurting her. He said, I was trying a few times to get the kid, and then I grabbed my gun and shot her in the face. He had the kid in his arms when he pulled the trigger. What is he saving others from in the instance when he has control of the kid? If she was the kid and he went over and blasted her head off, absolutely fine. He had the kids in his arm, the kid in his arm. But he still got her off the lap of her. And again, he's not saying that's what triggered all of it. She was poking the bear, and the bear flipped out. But that's not self-defense. He should have said, "Yeah, the bear got poked, and I was enraged and emotional." Then you can get manslaughter. Let's get back to it. I'm going with everyone sucks here. Oh, look who is becoming the new Sue of the channel because Sue isn't here. He hasn't said a word of the child being hurt at all. No, did he or didn't he? I'm not sure. Let's get to that night just to see if I don't care about Brenda. It takes a lot to get me riled up, but that is the one thing. So it's around here. And she just... Oh, and then we got into a conversation of, no, you texted you didn't want to even be here in the first place, and I don't want you here. I didn't plan for this. Like, we have, like, me and the kids, whatever, like, we weren't planning on you even being here at the first place. Like, I don't want you here. And then she just said, no, I'm staying here, and I'm not leaving, and then that went on the entire day of her refusing to leave. And as it escalated more and more, she started getting more and more aggressive about how, no, I'm going to take the kids away from you. I'm going to call the cops. I'm going to get you arrested and all this stuff. And then obviously, as things got more and more aggressive, if you can tell by kind of like my demeanor, I'm a very calm person. I think you can ask everyone. I'm very calm. It takes a lot to get me riled up, but that is the one thing. And there is definitely a lot more to my emotional attachment to the kids, but that is the one thing that does set me off. It is like these continued threats of taking the kids away from me. And it was just getting to the point to where just the entire day of me trying to be like, you cannot be here, call Brenda. And I didn't have Brenda's number. And I was literally thinking, like, I need to text someone to try and get Brenda's number so I can talk to, who the fuck is Brenda? So I can talk to her and try to be like, hey, you need to come get her. But yeah, I didn't have her number and I just didn't get that. But yeah, it just got to the point to where she kept doing that. And then I guess for whatever reason we are all here about, there was probably a good half an hour up to where she grabbed Elwyn. I'm not letting Elwyn go. I had taken Valen and put her in the car seat, and I was like, no, we need to go. And I was like, I don't even care if Brenda comes here or not. Like, I will drive you 3 hours down to Hampton. I do not care. But we are going to leave. You cannot be here. And then again, it was just a progressive, like, whatever, her just again threatening to take the kids and saying that, yeah. And she just wasn't going to leave, and that she was going to take Valen and Elovan back to Minnesota and all this stuff. And it's just kind of hit the breaking point, especially with her holding Elovan in her arms and not letting her go. Because there was a couple of times when I went up and I grabbed Elovan and was like, let go of Elovan. I'll say I never, not that it's even mattered, but I'll just say I never like hit her or punched her or anything like that, Caitlyn. But obviously, that's whatever. Anyways, but I was trying to grab Elovan and be like, hey, let go of Elovan, and she just wouldn't do it. And that was like kind of the tick, and that moment was, and this, because it was, I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if it was like training or nothing. So there was nothing other than she was holding Elovan. There was nothing about hurting Elovan. Yeah. So there's nothing stated that she was hurting. Hey, Slidey. She was ending the relationship and they were arguing over kids. He snapped, just told on himself. He was trying to split with the kids. He was trying to keep the kid with her. That's how I hear it as well. So let's just say, sadly, Sue has ruined another young person. First Brandon, now the kid.
I grabbed the gun. I'm someone who does not keep a round chambered, but it was just very quick. I just like grabbed it, chambered it, grabbed Elovan, pulled her back, and shot. It was very immediate. Obviously, what's big in my head is Elovan yelling. I really hope, and I don't think she saw anything. She definitely heard it, obviously. And that was, and I had conversations with her. She was complaining about her ears, that it was very loud, obviously. But when all that happened, which again, it happened super fast. I mean, it was like training. So where it's just grab it, cons, grab Elovan. And then right when I shot, it was just immediately, I grabbed Elovan and like ran out of the house. And just immediately ran out of the house and put her in the car. Valen was already in another room. She was closer to the door in her car seat. And so immediately I go run and I put Elovan in the car. And if you saw the layout, there's garages in the back. My car was in one of the garages. But I ran and put her in and I backed the car out to the back door. And I sat for a minute, like talking to Elovan. And for one, I was making sure that nothing had happened to her. And I know her, she was just complaining like out loud. That's what she was saying, loud. And so I was trying to check though to make sure nothing else was going on. Like she didn't have any injuries or anything like that. She didn't. I couldn't really check her hearing, obviously. I mean, I'm sure it was super loud. But anyways, then at that point, it was just kind of like, well, now I'm screwed. To where I understood what had happened, and I still do. I understand the consequences. But anyways,
if you listen to it, he has not stated, and I just read his statements, that she was just holding her. He doesn't state that she was hurting her.
in that moment, again, I'm just a very calm person, and actually I do, when I do my best is under stress. And so I feel like I had very clear head and was like, well, I guess I want to spend a bit of time with the kids before I have to be here. So what I did was I went through the house, kind of grabbed clothes, some food, water, stuff like that, loaded up. I guess that's what's in my car right now. I loaded that up and left. I don't know time frame. I couldn't say how fast that was. Fairly fast. I got the kids in the car. We left. I drove for a little bit just to get out of the area because I figured someone heard something maybe. But anyways, I just wanted to get out of the area and then just talk to Ellen. Because Valen was fine, she didn't, when she was in the other room, but I then just kind of sat there with Ellen. I was kind of being like, kind of talking to her, like, what happened? I was trying to ask her, like, hey, what happened? What did you see? And for her, she was just saying it was loud. And she wasn't saying anything else. And so that was kind of my biggest thing, like, I just really hope she didn't actually see me. And there was just a loud noise. And she just, like, because of that, she just closed her eyes or whatever. I was just doing this, I hope. And it seems like that's all it was. I still hope that that's obviously all it was. She was good though. I checked on her after driving a little bit, just basically out of Berlin. And then I was just kind of trying to plan what I was going to do. Because kind of immediately I kind of knew what was going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter, I understand, and it doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter if she was threatening, whatever. I fully understand the consequences and what that means. And I kind of immediately was thinking, well, okay, at some point, I'm just going to turn myself in. But I don't know when I'm going to see the kids again. So I'm going to spend some time with them. So I drove. Before anything else, I was kind of trying to think in my head, and I drove to Concord. Once I got to Concord, then I kind of sat with Valen and Valen again, and at that point, they were both good, and they were happy. I hope that there's no issues with this.
I could see one, maybe two issues with this. I don't know.
There really shouldn't be. Anyway, whatever. I'm getting ahead of myself. When we got to Concord, I was kind of, again, I sat down with the kids. I was like, in my front car, I was like, and I'll sit in the front. And they were all better. They were both better. Like Ellen wasn't crying. She was good. She seemed happy again. And for my own, like, hey, I just want to record something while we're here. So I did take out my phone, and I just recorded us. Basically, I was just saying I love you to the kids. And I set it back, and she was saying it to Valen. And basically, I got the recording. And I decided I'm going to tell someone, because there maybe is a possibility that no one heard anything at the house, or anything happened, or like, yeah, like no one heard anything or whatever. Anyways, I decided I was going to call my mom. And so I sent her the video of the girls in the car. And then I immediately called and told her what happened. She was obviously distraught. The conversation didn't go very long because I didn't want it to. Obviously, as a mom is, she was trying to be supportive, but there's not. Obviously, there's whatever. Anyways, but I basically said, "Hey, you should probably call the cops," and especially too because I didn't want to call her and say, and for her to like somehow be complicit of like me calling her and then her not calling the cops. So I, which is my point of when I asked you earlier, of how did they know? Because I was wondering if it was my mom.
There is a note that you called to Minnesota, but other than, so it's just whatever our dispatchers are bringing. So there is a note that you called somebody, but I have to talk to somebody that has a little bit more info. It's probably safe for something.
So that was basically what I said, and I said, from here on out though, I'm gonna go back, because I'm turning off my phone, and I just want, and I told her this, I was like, I'm gonna turn myself in, but I want some time with the kids before I do it, and then that's when I hung up and I turned my phone off. I ended up driving to, I don't know where in New York. I was getting close to New York City, west. I don't remember. I don't really know New York, but it was like west of New York City. But and I guess there's stuff going on in between too, like just making random stops or whatever, and just like if the kids were awake, like, hang out with them. I got down to New York and then just kind of laid in the backseat with the kids for a minute. Got like a couple hours of sleep. The kids they were sleeping on enough for the whole thing, but they were sleeping good. But and then I just laid in the back and slept for a couple hours, and then woke up, and at that point, that was kind of when I was deciding, because my initial thought was, oh, I'll just surrender. I just ran the police car. But then I kind of decided, you know what, I should probably do it in New Hampshire instead of just random, like whatever, whatever. So then I started heading back, and by the time I was getting near, my decision was, well, okay, I know that I'm going through Keene. So my plan was to go back to Concord, which was where I originally stopped and made that call. And so I was like, I guess I'll just go to Concord and just start there. But I was like, I do want to just sit down with the girls and just have breakfast somewhere. And so as we were just driving through places, I was kind of waiting to go to a restaurant until we got to New Hampshire. And I was even envisioning this. I was like, you know what's going to happen? I know we're going to stop at a restaurant, sit down and eat, and then the cops are going to like raid the restaurant. I had that already in my head, but anyways, as we were driving through Keene, I was like, well, okay, well, let's see what's going on next. And I kind of mentioned this, but as I was driving through Keene, I saw the Chili's right there, and then saw the police department, and I was like, well, they're probably like eating right there, and they're probably just sitting right there. So I just kept driving, and then I saw the Applebee's, and I was like, well, I guess I can see if Applebee's is open. And then turned the corner, and like I wasn't even paying attention because I was just trying to see if the Applebee's was open. So I had pulled into the Applebee's and was trying to see their hours open sign. And so I pulled up to the hours open sign and was trying to like look to see what it was. And then I see the cop pull up behind me. And I was like, wow. I was really not expecting anything from you guys. Like, children at Applebee's, okay. But I pulled up. Then there was parking spots kind of right in front of me, so I pulled up in the parking spot. And I was like, well, and the officer didn't do anything. I was assuming he was like trying to verify the license plate or something like that. But he didn't do anything at first, but I was like, my immediate reaction was he was just pulling me over just randomly for something. But then I was like, well, he's gonna run my plates and there's probably something out there. So something's gonna happen. So I immediately, and the girls were both asleep in the backseat. And so I immediately was just like, fuck, like I'm not even gonna get in the hood. And I wanted to, but I was like, I can't move because this was the exact situation I didn't want to be in. Because I didn't want something crazy to happen. Like I didn't want whatever, someone shooting or something happening with the kids right there. And so basically I just sat there and I turned and I was like trying to talk to Ellen. But then I immediately came out, like obviously coming at me, yelling at me, putting my hands up and I mean obviously I wasn't gonna fight or anything. It just really sucked that I just couldn't, like hug the kids. I was like the big thing just in my head. And then obviously the situation happened. And honestly, they directed me back. I was just yelling, hey, there's kids in the car. Just trying to make sure, like, just making sure there's kids in the car. Like, I'm surrendering. Like, don't get crazy. Obviously.
Well, Dustin, I think you covered pretty much everything. Not quite to the point where I don't have questions. I do have a few kind of like just kind of curious questions and stuff like that to clean up. More or less timeline. So you talked about Caitlyn flying in on the 27th. You didn't really talk or see her for 20th. I was wondering what time you got to the time you got to the restaurant house. She might have got to the restaurant house.
Again, you can verify through text because they are in text. I probably got there at 4:30. And again, the text would say what the restaurant was too. I think it was called Harley Jack's. But anyways, I think I got there right around 4:30. I don't know exactly what time she got there, but she called when she got there, and she called and just said, "Hey, come out," because she had that suitcase for
between 5 and 6. So
probably. Well, yeah, I was gonna say probably somewhere around 5:30.
What time do you think you got back? You don't remember? The apartment house, so.
It's a large house that has apartments. So I don't know if you saw it.
I haven't seen
it, but so I just had the first floor of this house that has 3 floors.
What time do you think you got back?
That one I have no idea because we were at the restaurant for a bit. I have no idea. And that one, and I don't even know. I don't think anyone was texting or anything. Well, actually, I was home at this point, so this was a text that went out that night. And I wish I could remember what I said. I didn't forget, just like a text. But it was from my mom, and it was something like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I think I wrote something like, I don't even know what I wrote. I was saying something about like how Caitlyn was at the house. And I think my mom was asking again, like, "Hey, is everything okay?" And I don't think I actually responded to that one. But obviously, she knew, Caitlyn's at the house, what happened? But, so if to verify, timeline, when my mom texted, or when I responded, is actually probably the better way when I responded. We were home. We were at the
What time the element's back coming in?
She's, I guess you could say 9 but for me, I'm up late. So I'm up, it depends, like this past week I was up till 2 a.m. Pretty much every night. But she was pretty good. I say that just because Ellen, a lot of times, if I'm not in bed, she doesn't want to go to bed. So she tries to hang out, but when she understands that, work on stuff that, this past week, she was really good at just being like, "I'm gonna go to bed now," and just goes to bed.
What were the sleeping arrangements? I know you said Caitlyn was on the
why I was doing these things is irrelevant, but I turned the living room into my room, and the dining room was turned into the living room. And both of those there's glass doors that shut to separate the two rooms, but I just had it open all the time. And so, when you're asking the sleeping arrangements, my bed is right there in my living room next to me. And then I set up the air mattress basically right in the doorway between the living room and my bedroom and the living room.
For kids.
Yes. And so she was right there, and then, what ended up happening was then Valen slept with me, and for the most part, I slept with her.
The girls have this element have a room dinner.
She does. So I had set up like the girls' room, which well, obviously, but I'd set up like the girls' room, but they've never like. We tried it a little bit to get Ellen to sleep in her own bed, but she never liked to, and neither one of us ever had a problem with her sleeping with us, and so Ellen has always just slept with us. So like when Ellen and I have been here, she always just slept in my bed.
She's school. Getting there.
That was another thing. She had preschool set up there on, so I got her accepted into the Head Start preschool in Berlin. But right now they're on like a break, so I think they were starting up like the 5th. Sorry, it's the 5th Tuesday.
So then Thursday morning, you guys get up at some point. So I had a couple of questions about that. As far as, I guess basically, maybe it makes sense to ask first what time you actually shot Caitlyn. Was it nighttime?
It was definitely night. I couldn't tell you that.
How about like phone calls and stuff around that time? Nothing, so you got 2 hours.
I didn't. I
But that time.
don't know what I don't know what her text or whatever. Because I obviously kept saying like, hey, like call Brenda, text Brenda. Like, and so she was doing something on her phone, and then another text. So
Okay, so she might have been
she might have been texting. I have no idea what she was doing, but I have no idea what her text for the matter she was texting or her phone calls. I don't know.
One of the things you said, so two questions. You said that you were not physical with Caitlyn at all. How about the opposite? How about her physical with you?
I guess I haven't thought about it. I would. Don't quote me, but right now I'm going to say I do not recall. And I'm only saying that because it probably wouldn't really register if she did ever hit me. I can say even if she did, it would have been like very rarely.
Fair to say.
To where I wouldn't even remember it. Right? But I'm just saying that because I probably wouldn't even register it. Look, I'm thinking of that in my head. So I don't even remember what was going on. I remember this was in Nevada, but she was really angry about something, and I don't remember.
I haven't seen her that Caitlyn. Is she taller than you, bigger than you?
No,
shorter than you?
she's very small, 5 foot.
Would it be fair to say that if she did like physically assault you, like, obviously you don't recall any injuries, but any major type injuries? One of the things you mentioned was that she was getting aggressive on her own nights. So you were asking her about Brenda coming to pick her up. She really wasn't answering that question most of the day. She finally got to the point where she's saying she's not going to leave, and then and this is one of the things that kind of popped out of my head, is that she's now saying that she's making those threats about taking the kids away. So they're threatening to take the kids away, for the most part, with a little phone. Now she's threatening to take the kids away in person.
Yes.
And she said she grabbed Eloise. I was just wondering if you could describe like how she's holding Eloise. I missed that sorry.
How she was holding her. So, like full bear hug. So definitely 2 hands bear hug. Which was again why, which I said a couple of times, more than a couple of times. I couldn't say it. More than a couple of times. I had, and obviously I couldn't really pull that much because they're like obviously I didn't want to hurt Elwin. There's a couple times I did try to grab Elwin. And I was never grabbing Caitlyn, but I did grab Elwin and try and pull Elwin away. But she was full, like, bear hugs Elwin.
Would you say, was Ellen upset, crying, or was she comfortable?
She was crying.
So she's holding her forcefully enough to cause her to cry, or was she crying because you guys were?
You could probably say both.
Um,
Because, you know, she...
What did that say? Okay, so while she's holding her forcefully enough to cause her to cry, or was she crying because you guys were, or a combination? So yeah, she was squeezing her, but it's just as much that they were fighting, maybe.
Probably say both. Because, you know, she's very smart. She knows, like when, yeah, and when, like, in that situation, and, you know, I should say this for the record too. During that entire conversation, you know, I might have yelled once, but I think that entire night,
I only yelled once, and I only pulled the trigger once. I am a good guy.
I probably only yelled once. But anyways, I was going to say Elwin knows when something's going on. And, yeah, so it was probably a combination of both of us.
You did say that Caitlyn was becoming aggressive, and this obviously holding Elwin as a step towards that. She's threatening to take the kids away, and threatening you with harm. She's threatening to take the kids away. She's threatening to hurt Elwin, or harm, or do any kind of threat to physically hurt Elwin, or you. Is it safe to say that, fair to say that she's not armed with anything right at this point? Whether she's holding Elwin.
And I will say I'm very aware of the surroundings. Obviously, you know, my family's right there.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple lights that are like pocket knives.
Where do you normally keep that fire?
On me. Very much since I've been in Hampshire, so for the past month.
In a holster, or?
I guess it depends on what I'm doing. Like if I'm in the car, I guess you would probably ask me about the house. I do have a little like handgun safe that's up on, it's still there. It's up on the safe. It's in a closet in the front room. I'm pretty sure it's still there. It should still be there. It's in the front room closet, which is where I was storing stuff on the top shelf. So like, you know, I'm gonna guess that's what you're referring to because my kids get to it.
No, that's in the back of my head, but that's not really what I'm referring to. I'm just curious if it was in a holster on the desk or if it was just on the desk.
At that moment, it was just on the desk.
Any other firearms in the house? Do you know any other firearms? And that you said it was on the desk. I was curious about your training a little bit. When you were in the Marine Corps, I'm assuming your disability has something to do with it's through the VA, so it's PTSD or something similar. You know, I'm a veteran too, or something. I'm uncomfortable talking about it.
Yeah, well, that's a question I'm hesitant to answer.
Okay. How about it?
Yeah, if you're asking about training,
Yeah.
because this is like I see where this is going to come to play. But yes, I am in the Marine Corps right away. So right at boot camp, I was battalion high shooter. PMI, the coach, he gave me a jacket because he had never coached anyone who shot as high as me. And immediately I got tagged to become a combat marksmanship coach, which then he did my coach's course. I got Top Gun in the coach's course, doing out like the recon special forces guys. So that was something I had a lot of pride in my Marine Corps, even more so than my actual job. It was just my shooting prowess.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. You're now sitting there telling them how fond you are of shooting and how well you know how to train with weapons. So you should know better. You were a marksman instructor. You should know better. Oh my God. This is probably the worst I've ever seen. What? Yeah, isn't the clock nice? It makes everything better. Yeah, always go on and talk about how well you know weapons when you just say, well, I just racked it and blew her face off, even though I had the kid in my arm. And again, if he was a shooting instructor, how much was he deployed, so his PTSD and all of that? Well, let's get back to this absolute self-immolation.
But I can see where this is going of like, could it be that I'm endangering Element by what I did? And I would very much say no. And just from that, just my training.
Just to kind of think that up a little bit more, you're an expert marksman of some sort of competition. So fair to say you know you were in danger,
Yes.
because you're that, like, you know that barrel that got the light.
I wasn't very, like, obviously that's, and again, like I said, when everything was so fast, it really was like training, just obviously, you know, it was instant, like everything happened probably in a couple seconds of me like grabbing a cockpit. Like it was very fast, but it was, I guess, what were you asking now?
So I want to just not have another question. Training you're talking about is marksmanship training, not like specifically hostile or anything like that. Because that was my first thought, is you're trying to remove the element from a harmful situation.
Yes.
So do you have training like hostage type scenarios? Or is this more of a marksman training that you're referring to?
Well, that would be just from our, well, we would have done that in the coaches course as well. Yes.
You know exactly, I don't want to put words in your mouth and I don't want to assume anything, but I'm guessing, is it fair to say you know exactly where you saw truck Caitlyn?
I have a very good idea, yes.
Where was that?
I'm
There's a couple of
trying to decide if this is a trap
So,
question. or not.
no, it's not, I'm just like, I just want to, like, it's hard to say you're an expert marksman and that everyone is safe and not know where that round is. So that's what I'm asking.
Well, yeah, yes. It straight through. I don't know exactly where to hit. I mean, my hair is covering, but side of the head. It really looks like it.
You're right-handed? You fire with your right hand? What type of caliber was it?
I don't know.
Where is it now?
It was in the front, the driver's side door.
Yeah, there's the car. Keep it was. Sorry.
No, there's no other guns in there. And I did tell them though, like immediately, like when they were getting me, I was saying, yo, there's, I was already out of the car at this point, but I was saying, hey, there's a pistol in the driver's side door with a round chamber. Just because and they were, I will say, they were good on that. I was saying like, hey, just don't even touch the door because the kids were right there too. And that was the point I was trying to make. It was like, yeah, like before anything else, like, hey, there's a good chamber right there.
Do you have any injuries on you at all, or any, you know, I see like the handcuffs obviously like dug in a little bit. Nothing on you. You're not harmed. You said both girls, as far as you know, were
I was gonna say no. I was gonna say because which again is probably relevant. I was continually trying to, like, as we were just throughout the day, morning, night, like, I was trying to check, like, to make sure that Element's hearing was fine, and obviously I don't have any tools or anything like that. But it seemed like it was fine. She wasn't complaining about it, and she said it was fine. So, yeah.
You have, yeah, so obviously you've had a super difficult past year probably. You've done everything you can as a dad and everything's been against you. You know, she's threatening to keep the kids apart because you won't you won't let her put them on your taxes. Stuff like that doesn't make sense. Obviously you have to put up with it because you're concerned for the kids. I know you said you wished you stayed in Nevada in the first place because things were good there. You had this feeling in your gut.
Sorry.
I don't know what that myth about John Barron is. I don't follow enough on Twitter.
Clarify with Nevada. I do really love Nevada.
Yeah.
It's not that I regret moving to New Hampshire because for the month I'm here, I like it. Obviously, things are different now, but my regret with Nevada was leaving to follow Caitlyn to Minnesota because if I had talked to my Nevada lawyer before I left, then they would have said, "Oh, it's very simple. She took the kid out of state.
File your paperwork or whatever you have to do."
Yeah, like very easy. The kid's going back to Nevada, and so that, and I hadn't talked to a lawyer before, so when I say I regret leaving Nevada, it was specifically for that reason.
Okay.
I wish once she left, that I was just like, well, no, you left, you screwed up everything. Like, nope, bring the kid back here. I'm sorry about that.
And then
So that was my regret.
And then you followed her to Minnesota. Obviously, you want to keep the kids together. You did this long commute from northern Minnesota to southern Minnesota twice a week for the kids and with kids. So you're making all the sacrifice. You finally get to New Hampshire, things are working out or getting better. You have your own place where it's peaceful. And then she comes to meet you with the younger kid. You're at the restaurant, and she wants to come to your house. And you just have that feeling, like the pit in your gut, like, this is not going to end well. You know, she'd already threatened to make false accusations when she wasn't even with the older kid. Now she's an
No, he liked the desert. She wanted to go to New Hampshire, and now she wanted to go to Minnesota.
access to both of them. She comes over to your house. She threatens to have you arrested and stuff. And obviously, you had that feeling in your stomach that you didn't want her there in the first place. Things were not going to go well. She was going to make it worse and worse. I know you had that, we'll call it a regret, I guess, of like, this isn't going to end well when you guys leave that restaurant and also head back to your place. And do you have any other regrets or things you just wish, like in the whole grand scheme of things, if things went differently? Just like obviously there's such a long buildup of you trying to make it work for the kids and nothing seemed to go your way.
And there is a lot. I don't know if I'd phrase it like that though.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
I do want to say this, that from every point of our relationship, her biggest issue was never communicating, which she never does to anyone, like her own family. Like I'm the one talking to her family, and she doesn't even talk to her own family. So it's like I'm super big on communication, and she never wanted to talk at all. But then two, of how she would never compromise on anything. And so like even small stuff of like, as an example, so like whatever, everyone's in a relationship, so
Yeah.
everyone should know what I'm talking about. It's like these small stuff like that. But it's like all these small things that just like add up. And I always felt like in my head for years, it was always like, and again, I said this in the beginning, I'm so much into like for a nuclear family to raise kids. So I'm like the mom and the dad have to be present to have a good.
No, back in the beginning, he said he liked the desert. He wanted to stay there, but she wanted to go to New Hampshire. And he did it because he wanted to keep the nuclear family together. And then she wanted to go to Minnesota. And then he wanted to stay in New Hampshire. That's how I understood it.
Child, to raise a child.
Yep.
And so this comes into like all of my decisions of like, suck up my pride, whatever, fine. She doesn't want to use the detergent, then I'll make sure our clothes are separate, all of our stuff is separate, I have my stuff, like my whatever shirts that I want to do this, and like, I couldn't wash the kids' clothes, I had the kids' clothes, I had to give them, but anyways. But it was just like, okay, for the kids. And again, it was like when she took Valen to Minnesota, and with talking to my parents and her parents, and I was just like, okay, fine, I'll just do it for the kids. And, yeah, so that it's, I guess, I'm trying to remember what word or what phrase you were using specifically.
I don't know if you remember regret. I mentioned that earlier, just kind of like things you could maybe wish had gone differently or whatever. It sounds like
I mean, immediately, like, again, my immediate regret is leaving Nevada.
yeah.
Because I should have just stayed there, got the lawyer, and then the kid would have been back, and then obviously that brings up that whole situation. The mom took the kid out of state.
Yeah.
Like, that looks terrible, and we probably would have just right then and there gone through like a custody case.
Yep.
And it would have, at the very least, it would have benefited me.
Yep.
Whether we was split or whatever, obviously, it doesn't matter, but obviously it would have looked a lot better on my part. And so that was obviously like my first big regret. I don't know, I feel like you're trying to get something out.
I'm just trying to look at the picture. Obviously, you've only been in New Hampshire for a little while. There's a whole big picture. We kind of covered most of it, but there's a huge lead up to this.
Yes.
And it sounds like to me, I'm sure to Mike too, you did almost everything you could, and it was just never good enough. You couldn't send, your money wasn't enough. You fall into Minnesota, but things don't work out there. It's not that you did everything, the best of your ability for the kids. Is obviously things didn't turn out, I'm sure New Hampshire like you wanted them to, but.
It feels like you're like buttering me up.
Yeah.
Now I have a question.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know if you're getting at like, do I regret New Hampshire? Which, no. I think I would have really liked it here. And again, I was getting everything set up. I mean, because this is gonna come up obviously as the case happens. But I don't even know if I want to. I probably shouldn't even talk about that.
Let me ask you this.
I don't know. I don't regret New Hampshire. And again, I had everything. I mean, Ellen and I were having a great time. We had so much, immediately, I moved here, we had people helping us move, she's meeting friends here, we got into the Head Start program,
Yep.
I got my, whatever, I got, immediately got my driver's license was sort of temporary one, I haven't got something new. But yeah, I got, obviously, the title switch over, all the registration stuff, just fully getting set up here, and there might actually be texts on this. I'm not sure if it was just conversations with my mom or if they were texts, but there might be texts. There were definitely conversations with my mom of just saying I don't want to call this a success until Valen is here and Caitlyn is gone. And I remember at the very least having those conversations, but there might actually be text to it because we would have conversations of oh, she's threatening this and she's not going to bring Valen now, and now I'm saying, okay, fine, put them on your taxes, are you going to bring them here? And then yes, and it was I was always so I'm not calling this a victory until this is done. And obviously it was not.
Yes, I'm now having a question to ask. But I'll do two quick questions, and I think we're pretty much done. So, just kind of listening to the last couple of minutes of the conversation, I have to ask now, it was never your intent for Caitlyn to come here and kill her. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
And this was...
Because even the way you just mentioned the text message to your mom, I realize what you're saying, but at the same time listening to it, it's making me, I now have to ask that question.
But yes, without a doubt, never any intention to ever do anything like that. Absolutely not.
And the other thing I do, and being a military veteran myself, or combat veteran myself, the other thing I do is I put myself in your head, and as I'm listening to you talk, the other question I have to ask is, could you have done anything in that moment where you reached for that gun, and from the moment you grabbed the gun to the moment you pulled the trigger, could you, in your mind, have done anything differently to prevent wrapping around and pulling the trigger? Or is it just set in motion and done? Nothing you could do.
It was from the moment that it was nope. Just even before I grabbed it, it was nope. And then again, it was almost again, what I'm saying, it's like your training coming out. It was also that I just Not even in it, whatever, it's not even say that, it's not, that's it, but anyways, yeah,
If you could do it differently, the last 24 hours, what would you have done differently?
not let her go to the house. Then it's, you're getting into hypotheticals of, but then probably this, there would have been situations then like at the restaurant, and like, or whatever else, outside the restaurant, or like, again, because she very clearly, and I guess I didn't even say that, she very clearly had, no, I did, I guess I did. Anyways, she very clearly had no intention for Brenda to pick her back up from the restaurant. She very clearly had intended to come back to my place without telling me. And so that obviously factored in to where I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I have to drive her to Hampton, so I have to drive her an hour and a half to Hampton, and then drive 3 hours back to my place, and and I got, you know what, because I have to call it out, like, are you getting at, do I regret shooting her?
But this is your opportunity to say if you do or not. If you want to address that too, yeah, please do.
I don't know if I want to.
You knew she was, based on your training and everything else in marksmanship, you knew she was dead pretty instantly, right?
For sure.
So I'm done with questions. I'm gonna have to look at the time, but I want to end the recording. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up? Well, I do want to say I'm not answering that last question of do I regret that for either answer. It just feels like that's almost like that's like a trap question. I don't know, like that's It's your choice to answer or not. I'm not trying to treat you pretty fairly, let you answer whatever you want to answer or don't want to answer. And if you don't want to answer, please don't feel like we're trying to get something out of you that you want. Because
and I guess just to end it, my obviously all, you know, if I can talk more, I'll say. I have a very, you know, I'll say this because you asked this already, and this is probably, okay. Answer it, and you can answer this first. Can you even look up what my disability is? Can that even get brought up on court?
there's a way to do it.
Why is he already planning what is going to be brought up into court? What? This is weird. You just shot your wife the day before. Then you ran to New York, came back because it's probably better. Then you wanted to go to Applebee's with a kid with a diaper full of shit. And now you're sitting in here, and the only thing you wanted to change from the day before was not shooting your wife. It was not letting her come to the house, but it was going to happen anyway because she clearly wanted something else. And now you're thinking about if your disability can be used as kind of a defense in court. What's going on? Am I losing it? Yeah. Well, he's just angry that she came to the house. This makes no sense. Even if it was self-defense, why isn't he crying? Why isn't he screaming? Why isn't he talking about, I had to do it? He's more interested in talking about $500 that he had to send her because he had no money. We've been watching about 2 hours, and I would guess 15 minutes of that has been about killing his wife.
It has to be in the middle of the situation. So in this particular case, I think it would have already had been done. So it has to be what's called exigency. And by that I mean like something like heat of the moment type thing, hot pursuit type thing. And there's a way to call, not the VA, but there's some our intelligence people can call and get stuff like with certain exigency. if that hasn't already happened, then there's ways to deal with search warrants and stuff too, but I'm sure it will come up one way or another.
And I don't even know if it even matters. Well, anyways, whatever. I was gonna say, not even with that. I was just gonna say that starting back either 2016 or 2017, I started going into some very severe depression, and I did have a failed suicide attempt. This was before I met the kid. So there was a lot of me trying to find, I don't need to go into the whole thing, but it was a lot of me like what is the point? Like there's no purpose for me to live anymore. And that was kind of where I was at when I was in this severe depression, and that's when this all happened. But after that happened, then my parents took me to their place back in Minnesota. And that is when I met Caitlyn. And then when we had our first kid, that was when it really was like, this is it. Like this is why I'm here now. And it was, and okay. I don't even know. I'm debating whether I even want to say this. Because I think veterans, when you talk to veterans, they understand this. I'll just give this caveat and say it, because I feel like if you're a veteran, you understand this. But I remember our very first Christmas, to where Ellen she just turned 1. And actually, this reminds me, because this brings something up about Caitlyn. And we could honestly go down this whole road that I don't think Caitlyn cares about the kids. And that's a whole other can of worms that can be opened up. But Ellen's very first Christmas, Caitlyn left and went back to Minnesota. So it was just me and Ellen. And then, so obviously, but I remember at the time, I was still like, I won't get into the details, but some financial stuff came up, and I was struggling with money again. And so that Christmas, I couldn't really get out of anything. And so I took pictures, and there's pictures of me and Ellen when she's, whatever, it was her first Christmas, and she's like opening up, I think she had like 2 toys, we had like 2 toys, and we had just this little Christmas tree.
Didn't he preference this by saying that all veterans knew this feeling? Hellfish, did you ever unalive your wife and then the first thought you had after that was, hey, remember 4 years ago when I couldn't get my kid more than 2 gifts? A 1-year-old doesn't care how many gifts they get. They don't understand Christmas. Well, he was on disability, so again, he's not an unemployed broke ass bum. He's just a veteran on disability broke ass bum.
I remember being so sad that I couldn't get a word. And I had those thoughts coming back in my head. But because Ellen was there, and she was so happy, that was like my life turning point to where those thoughts ended permanently. and everything was just for her. It was like that was, and I said this at the beginning, to where I have such a strong connection with Ellen just from like that moment, that was a turning point moment in my life. That I was like, those thoughts are just gone now, forever, and they aren't. They're forever gone. Even like I get it now. It's like there was no. It never even came into my head that I would try to kill myself. Like that wouldn't. That didn't even be a possibility.
Priorities change. It was my commanders used to always throw something like that. Priorities change, and it actually applies to pretty much everything, especially when you have kids.
Thank you so much, Adrian Custom Furnitures, for buying a membership. See, it's a custom drawing. I'm a smart kitten. Was the baby really his? He shows absolutely no interest in that kid. But Eowyn. And again, what the hell? Oh, I couldn't buy her Christmas presents. That took my PTSD away. Oh, I can't with this. I hate that as a veteran myself. I hate that. Oh, we're so sick. We're so sorry all the time. Yeah, some of us have had a bit of a rough ride, but this guy seems like one of these guys who will show up at every veterans meeting saying, "Oh, I wish I didn't have PTSD. My life is so bad." Yeah, but you could snap out of it when you didn't buy more than 2 gifts for your kid. I have friends with PTSD who can't get out of bed in the morning, and if you wake them up in a surprise, you will have to fight them because they are constantly in high flight and fight state of mind. They didn't get fixed by just buying 2 presents.
So anyways, not that it even justifies anything.
And Dawn, as long as you wrap them up, they were perfectly happy. When I was just became a single dad and I didn't have any money, go and buy a thrift store and buy them a $2, well, maybe a little bit more, $10 Barbie doll that they got to choose and they got to play with was perfectly fine. They didn't need fancy gifts because they're kids.
But it's like,
I did 3 tours in Iraq. I wish my PTSD was more manageable. You need to work on yourself and you need to take care of yourself. You can't blame someone else for your own bullshit. No, and when you have PTSD, you know your limitations and you kind of know the signs and you know, well, some people sadly gets into addictions and stuff like that. But if you have PTSD, most of the people, we all come back with something. Not that I have anything other than I'm not fond of New Year's Eves and stuff like that. But I know I'm not fond of New Year's Eve. So I just pull the blinds down and I watch a movie and I have a drink. I don't get smashed, but I have a few whiskeys and just enjoy a drink. Don't go out to parties because I'm not fun. I can't with this I'm a loser mentality just because I had PTSD. We all was deployed. We all saw some bad shit. Yes, some people got more sick than others. But so far, I haven't heard what your PTSD was about because you haven't even talked about your deployments. Can't with these stolen valor PTSDs. My dad has PTSD, and I do think in many ways he did use having a family as a way to keep pushing on, but he still had his moments like you said, you couldn't wake him by touching him without him swinging. No, but as long, it's the same as having any other mental problems. As long as you are aware that you have a mental problem, you can work with it. And then those days where you just can't handle it, your spouse could also say, okay, today is a daddy day. I'll make sure the kids are quiet. Everything is, I know these days will be coming. and then you can handle it. But this guy just seems like he's one of those who will just whine and say, I'm sick. I can't have those people.
It's just my other.
No other questions for Mr.
Okay. Members of the jury, I realize that was a long video, but we'll take the mid-afternoon break now. It's currently 3:05.
Let's get to the cross-examination of this guy and then hear how they beat him with a phone book. So he said all of these things because he didn't mean it at all, and he never ever said it. If I called Lady Fed a spouse, she would kick me square in the nuts. Well, that's because you have to call her the old ball and chain. No, but that's another thing. Misery loves company, and my ex-wife couldn't understand. When I got my depression, she couldn't understand it either because I was a man. I wasn't supposed to have those. She could be sad all the time, but I couldn't have the big sad. There's no reason why I had that. I'm a man. Get out of it. Yeah, it's easier said than done. Then I left her and I got right out of it. Imagine how that worked. But some people will never, ever understand that because they might be a little too self-centered. But I had friends. I have a buddy of mine. We actually met when I joined the military after my deployment again. And he's still in the military. And he gets deployed all the time. And as he says, his wife knows when he's saying, I am going to visit another of our buddies and we're going fishing. She knows that can be a 2-hour trip and it can be a 2-day trip. But he just needs it because else everything will just fall apart. Calling her the battle axe. Well, it's I fixed it. I got a divorce, and that was what I needed. It's not like that for everyone, but hey, I'm way happier now. My dad never spoke of Vietnam until they had him in therapy for VA benefits. Then it was a different story. Shit came out, he repressed. My psychological evaluation was roughly, no, not 400, maybe 200 guys in an auditorium where our officers were down front and said, do any of you need to speak to a psychologist? Just put your hand up now. That was all the mental help we were offered when I came home. Then I think probably 5 years later, my ex-wife called me, and because we met on deployment, and she said, that was weird, that call from the military doctor. I said, what call? Yeah, they just called and checked up on me and asked if I needed any mental counseling and stuff like that. I said, I didn't get any calls. Then maybe 5 years later again, she called me again. Oh, have you heard they're going to do this and that? And I think she went for some counseling or something. Said, I haven't heard shit. And the same year, I got sent like a questionnaire where everyone who had been deployed got a questionnaire and asked, how have we been treated? Did you get mental health counseling? Have you been offered mental health? I was just like, I haven't heard shit from you since I came home. I got a medal, like, I don't know, we had like an appreciation medal from the Queen that everyone got who got deployed. But I got that, I think, 13 years after I deployed home. So I was never offered any of that. I could call. We have a veterans hotline you could call if you need it, but I've never been offered. She's been asked multiple times. My kids have been asked because they're kids of 2 veterans, but they weren't born when we were deployed. So, but I'm the only one never been offered anything. Probably would have helped. My dad drove a lot of a lot of people who had been on those camps where you really learned how to concentrate back in the 40s. My dad was an EMT ambulance driver, and in the 80s, where they were beginning to get so old they were dying, he drove a lot of them to, if they needed treatment and stuff like that, because you'll be picked up at home and driven to the hospital or wherever. And he talked to them, and as he said, you had to drive with them. Maybe one of the best conversations he had was a guy who had the big C, and the first time was just hello, hello, and then the next time my dad was like, "Oh, I noticed your name, and with your age, do you know anything? Because I was born in that year or during the war, and oh, I don't know anything." And he drove with him like 10 times, and then he said, "Oh, by the way, I think you'll be interested in this." And then he showed him the numbers on his arm. And then they started talking about how he had been interned and stuff like that. That was my dad said, those people, they didn't talk about it. And especially we had volunteers who joined the Germans, volunteers, because they were sold going to fight the commies in Russia. But yeah, they ended up doing a lot of stuff. They never ever talked about it either, because they knew that chapter was closed. But a lot of people who saw a lot of shit didn't talk about it. As my dad said, most of them who couldn't handle it back then with PTSD, they went out in the barn and just removed the top part of their head, and the rest didn't talk about it. The ones who talked were those who didn't do anything. I spoke with a friend's grandfather who was a POW in the WW. He had an NCO, and they marched him from camp to camp in Europe. He was 6'5" and 85 pounds when General MacArthur liberated him from the camp he was in. Yeah, that's I've told this story many times. With we had a old Jewish guy who had been interned in a camp. Luckily, they hadn't gotten him so far in the system, so he was just in a camp outside of Berlin, not one of the bad ones over in Poland. But when the Ruskies came running, they started calling them out, and when people said, "Yeah, I'm here," boom, they just got shot. And he never answered when they called his name, and he survived. But he said that was the most horrible thing he remembered wasn't the dead people. It was when he plucked lice from his own armpits and ate that just to have some sustenance. That was how bad it was. That wasn't a good time. Well, you know how it is, Hellfish. You can tell some stories to everyone, but there's a lot of stories you can only tell to someone. Well, it's fun most of the time, and sometimes it's not that fun. I have downs apparently too. Your dad went in Vietnam afterwards. We could not be in any store with someone that from there was in the store. He would get very angry, making them get out of the store. Hey, there's a lot of things that'll go on your backbone when you have been deployed. There's a lot of things you won't do. There's a lot of things you don't like seeing. And yeah, you will get a little frightened of certain people. That's what happens. So the first thing we saw, because in the Danish media, we were told, oh, the Serbs are the really bad people because, yeah, they did a very big massacre at Srebrenica. So the first day we were down there, we were shown 2 videos. One of them was a decapitation with a hand axe. The other one was a decapitation by a dull kitchen knife. And they said, now it's up to you to guess who was the Muslim and who was the Serb, because nobody is good down here. And that kind of put it on the top, saying, that was, yeah, General MacArthur was, He was the guy who liberated the Philippines. Ooh, yeah, that's bad. Ship fires are really bad. I was trained to be we call it being a smoke diver. You know, the one where you put the rebreather on and go in and fight fires. We call them. Well, I was a firefighter. I was trained to be a firefighter when I got deployed, and the firefighting training institute we have in the Danish military at that time was the Navy one, and because they needed to go out and fight fires on the ships. And that's not fun because everything is metal, everything is hot as balls, and that wasn't a fun job to have. Well, we only had one fire that we had to go out, but we didn't have to put all rebreathers and that on. But that training that week, that was hard work, especially when you had to go in and there's just smoke all over and you have to go find things. It's so easy to miss. They'll put like these dolls in there that you have to go in and carry out, and so you can find it. But at the same time, where everything is just wet, everything is hot, there's smoke all over. It's really fun, but it's also really, really hard. Yeah, that's it could be a legit motorcycle accident as well, but also some people just do the jacks from that motorcycle show where he just, because it's an easy way out. I'm sorry to hear that for your daughter. So is the seal crooked or is the camera angle off? As I said, since we've started covering this, it looks like it's bent up here. I call it the Timo seal because it's look really cheap. How many times do we have to tell the people not to talk to the cops? One more time. One more. And after that, one more. I found out the day he died that my grandfather was a highly decorated World War II veteran, a paratrooper who survived the battle at the Bulge. He didn't come home in such good condition mentally. Imagine that. Watching Band of Brothers, I think, is a very, very, very close experience to what, of course, you can't do and it's dramatized, but I think it's very, very close experience to how it is to be in a unit. Imagine back then, they didn't like us just, we're going to rotate home in a year. In Denmark, we do it in 6 months, and after 3 months, you'll get a week at home. You'll just fly out and you'll fly down again. Back then, they were gone for 3 years, some of them. And especially the Battle of the Bulge, where they were pounded and it was cold. It was one of the coldest winters, and they were just living. They didn't have any winter equipment, and they didn't have enough ammunition, didn't have enough food. Those were the heroes. People like Hellfish and I and Valhalla. Yeah, we went on the holidays compared to these guys. Is this stuck again? No? Yeah, that's those are hard. Winter's talking about that pistol he got from a German commander. That's a really good story. There's a Danish movie. I can't watch it. It's called Armadillo. That's from our base. We had Armadillo base in I think it was Kandahar, somewhere in Afghanistan. I can't watch that show because most of it is filmed with the troops out there, and I can't, because in that one, that's where you hear the snap crack, that you know what the snap crack is. And because everyone thinks gunshots are like on movies, but they're not. It's just a crack. And when you hear that, you know it's gone over your head, and you're thinking, maybe I can get a little bit lower. And I just can't watch that movie. That's I don't know if it's whatever it is, but that does something to me when I try to watch that. And I went to school where where I get my high school diploma thing, and we had to have one creative class, and I could either do film science, or I could do music, or I could do, I can't remember, gym class. And I'm too fat for gym class. I didn't want to do music because I didn't want to sit and play guitar with all the hippies. So I thought, oh, fuck it, I can use that movie science to learn about YouTube. And the teacher, she loved Armadillo, and she kept wanting to show it. And I said, if you're going to show it, I'm going to leave, because I just can't watch it. It triggers something in me. That can't be true. And so then she put it one time, and she just looked at me and said, yeah, that's okay. You just leave now. My husband's first boss in Congress was a Balls veteran, and everyone wanted to praise him, but he never wanted to talk about it. But boy, was he a patriot until his last day. Of course, he didn't want to talk about it because he got home. And that's the weird feeling that all of us have. I've lost... The year I got home, maybe it was the tour after. No, it was not the tour after, not the one we turned over to, but the tour they turned over to. I lost a friend of mine who I played music with, his sister, all through my childhood. I hung out with him. We used to work at the same bakery. I lost him in Bosnia. I was on a deployment I was in the field hospital, and we were on an exercise, and then that was when we lost some of our first troops in Iraq, and one of them I used to be in the radio troops with, and I think so far I've lost 5 guys on deployment, and coming home isn't, but the people who stayed out, they're the ones you should talk about. It's not the one who came home. Well, survival, it's that question, why me, not why them, not me? Because you do the same, and I'm not a good soldier. I'm an idiot. I'll walk into all kinds of trouble. But and I think a lot of people will then, some people can't handle it, and a lot of people say, well, I have to do something because of them. Is that a euphemism? He received 2 Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart, and 4 Battle Stars. He's been doing something good. Yeah, that's the thing. The people who will tell you why it's necessary and why they're never the ones who's going to do it. I got banned by a Danish politician who was very gung-ho about troops to Ukraine. And I said, you know, they have a foreign legion, sign up. Well, I'm a politician, and what we do is that you are asking Danish guys to go, and girls, to go join. You go first. Because anyone who's seen war up close, they don't want to go again, because it's not that fun. Get some cool stories, and I bet you if me, Hellfish, and Valhalla got a 12-pack of beer each, and sat in the back of the truck, we could have a great night. But I'm also pretty sure. I'm pretty sure if our countries called us again, we would do it. But we don't go looking for it anymore. Unbalanced. Shut your mouth. The kid is actually today. The kid came in a little late. The kid has been on a Sue tear all day. She has been more angry than Sue all morning and yelling at everyone else in chat. Maybe it was because she thought Johnny Depp was a hottie. Mm-hmm. See, Sue is, oh, I like people who are mean. That's why I like the kid. Yeah, the kid has all the bigwigs in today, so she can't defend herself. That's probably why she came in and screamed in chat. Did anyone see that the NBA apparently have a big mafia problem, or at least some of their coaches and players was swept up in a heist today? See, the kid is having a Sue day. Yeah, it's kind of funny that they get surprised every time these people have a little bit of a gambling problem. Do you know Michael Jordan and how crazy he was? Get back to court, why don't you? You're done in half an hour. And I don't know how much cross-examination is going to help with this one. You have to fight it when it gets to, but I could see the state resting after this. Yeah, Pete Rose can never get into the Hall of Fame, even though all the Roy Magoos got in there. Yeah, it's the first time you figure out that, whoopsie, that wasn't just a gun range shot. You get a little worried. The first time someone draws on you and you think, oh my God, this could go south really fast, it changes you. And the first time you have to pull out a weapon and point it at someone, my first was a kid, and that wasn't fun. But hey, his dad wouldn't show us his hands, so, and he was standing on the front wheel of the truck I was in, so we didn't know what could happen. But that wasn't a fun day. They're standing up, so jury must come in. Come on. Come on, come on, come on.
My objection, or the defense's objection to the use of subtitles, and note the dozen or more errors that I saw during the review of the video with the subtitles. These are either errors from what you could audibly hear and what the subtitles said, differences between the subtitles and the corrected transcript, or both. And given the pacing, I can't tell you which, and I couldn't tell you that I got all of them, so these are just the ones I caught. And I'm just going to note for the record the errors in the subtitles. And again, I think our concern here is that the jury is going to rely on the subtitles it's human nature, it's why I have subtitles on when I watch TV, it helps me process, rather than listening to the video, even with the limiting instruction, it's something our brains do automatically, it's not something we can control. And so, just for the record, error 1, page, this is what's been marked for ID as states 32, and I'm going by the page numbers at the top right. Page 14, line 9, it said looped in when it should have been moved in. Line 21, it said where when it should have been whether. Line 17, page 17, line 4, the H in DEBORAH was excluded. Page 24, line 2, mine when it should have been my. Page 25, line 1, the phrase hunter, fisherman was omitted. Line 9, like do you want a was omitted. Line 33, I believe it said will hire the place, when the corrected transcript and what you could audibly hear was I already had the place. Page 35, line 5, it said and da when it should have said and none of that. Page 46, line 14, and again line 16, it should have said I then Venmo'd, and it said I mailed her. Page 50, line 4, it's said I was when it should have said us. Page 52, line 1, Sergeant McLaughlin is misidentified as Detective Horton. Page 55, line 12, it said pulled when it should have said filled. Page 57, line 6, the word like was omitted. Page 58, line 4, and instead of I. Page 58, line 21 to 22, it said I never like hit her or punched her or anything, when it should have said I never like hit her or touched her or anything. Line 59, it said after a couple of times, or was it page 59, line 15, after a couple of times, when it should have said after a couple of attempts. Page 60, line 14.
Oh, he is, okay.
Sergeant McLaughlin, erroneously identified.
I hate that you got all the long names back.
Or vice versa. Line 61, it said check that instead of, or page 61, line 2, check that instead of check though. Page 61, line 6, I couldn't really check for her earring when it should have said I couldn't really check for her hearing. Page 64, line 2, and 2 errors, and for my own, but it instead said, and from my own. Same page, line 9, maybe is instead of maybe as. Page 68, line 8, omitted cause I was like. Page 76. This one was moving too quickly, and there was, for me to catch, but there was an error sometime around line 19 to 20, when some statements were omitted from the subtitles that were said audibly. Page 82, it looks like line 22, the speaker was misidentified. Of course, the error we've talked about previously, page 87, line 15, fair to say you weren't endangering Elowen, is what the corrected transcript says. What Sergeant McLaughlin said is what he said, but the subtitle said, fair to say you were endangering Elowen. Page 95, line 16, the word I was omitted. Page 96, line 10, Detective Horton, I believe, said, "Correct me if I'm wrong," and that was omitted from the subtitles. Page 105, line 17, this is one that Sergeant McLaughlin identified on direct. It said whacking the round, the subtitle did, when the actual correct statement was whacking the round. Page 106 had multiple errors, line 2, to what I'm saying versus is what I'm saying, omitted because, line 5.
Well, they did a motion for this. They already discussed this pre-trial. Then they discussed this pre-showing the video, and now post-showing the video, she's gonna tell you all the different places where the subtitles were wrong, even though they are not going to get the transcript or the video with the subtitles back into the jury room, because that's the ruling the judge made 3-4 hours ago when she was yelling about this the last time. Can we just get it over with? The state is going to rest. You're going to get your bite at the apple tomorrow. Come on now.
Before, line 14, the problem is versus but then probably there. Line 108, page 108, line 17, honestly was what the subtitle said, but the audio was clearly obviously. Page 112, line 18, speaker misidentified. And I think we ended there. And Judge, I think it's more about the overall quality of the information being presented to the jury. I think the most substantive error is the one we've already discussed at length. But I would say if those are what I can catch at a full speed, non-slowed down review, it's likely there are even more errors. And so I understood the jury has heard it. I'm just making my record about the impact that using the transcript has had on the jury, and renewing, noting our objection being multiple times prior to it being played. And that's all I have on that issue.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Duren, any comments?
Just that counsel has noted, as they've noted, most of these are minor errors. Different people hear different things, as is obvious. The transcript was provided to defense counsel before June of 2024. They chose to utilize this one in terms of their motions for redaction. In fact, the state had offered them the opportunity to reconsider that and utilize the edited, corrected version done by Detective McLaughlin. Defense chose not to. The state followed what the defense requested in terms of transcripts. These are minor. They've been corrected on examination. They've actually been notified, I believe, 3 times. The detective, as well as this court, have instructed the jury that the audio is what they should listen to, because the transcript can show errors. Even the larger error, or the error that defense counsel points out as being substantive, was corrected on direct examination. Defense counsel is free to cross-examine. This was given to the jury and instructed by a limiting instruction that this was merely for a guide and that they were to rely on the audio for any differences. Your Honor, unlike defense counsel, I don't listen to subtitles because I don't trust them. In terms of on television, they're always wrong, and I'm sure defense counsel is aware of that as well. This was given to jurors as a guide. There were errors, but they were minor, except for the one. Defense counsel is free to question on cross-examination if they don't feel that the state addressed them appropriately on direct.
And just a couple of notes. I don't know why the state gave the jury evidence it doesn't trust, that it thinks is incorrect. It's not our burden to ensure that the evidence that the state is presenting is accurate. It's the state's burden. And we did not ask the state to use incorrect subtitles. We objected to the use of subtitles at all for this very reason.
Your Honor, that was a colloquial speak. The subtitles are done by somebody listening to a tape who was not involved. That's why it is sworn to. It is transcribed by a stenographer, and the state provided corrected information. This could have all been corrected had defense counsel raised these concerns prior to the transcripts being used. These are minor issues within this transcript, and the jury has been told that they need to rely on the audio. The audio is the evidence. This tape was provided for presentation purposes as an assistive device, not as evidence, and the court was very clear in its instruction.
Attorney Kettles, I note that you have not raised an objection relative to whether or not the state did not properly redact consistent with my order dated October 10, 2025. It does appear that the video that was played is consistent with my redactions relative to those portions of the transcript. I would note that I haven't heard any objection in that regard. And Attorney Duren, based upon your argument, is my understanding that the state's position is that with the exception of the were versus weren't endangering comment, my understanding is that the state's perception is that any perhaps incorrect word choice does not alter the sense of what is being said as part of the tape. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Satisfied with the record?
Yes, Your Honor.
All set? Okay, so any further, the court is denying any request for a further limited instruction. Again, the transcript in whatever form will not be going to the jury. That's number one. Number two, the version of the video that has been admitted as a full exhibit, that version does not have subtitles on it, and that version has been admitted as a full exhibit. So that version will be going to the jury. I've already instructed them that they are to consider the audio to be the primary evidence, and they are to rely upon that, and the jury is presumed to follow my instructions. So that is my ruling with respect to that. Satisfied with the record, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, jury. Thank you.
Let's get to it.
All rise for the honorable jury.
I'll take
Sergeant, I'm going to ask you some questions about what Dustin told you,
Okay.
and a couple of questions about what you asked or said to Dustin. Dustin said, I can see where this is going, of like, could it be that I'm endangering Elwyn by what I did? And I would very much say no.
That sounds correct.
And you responded, yeah, just to tighten that up a little bit more, you're an expert marksman of some sort in competition, so it's fair to say you know you weren't endangering Elwyn.
Correct.
And in response to the question, you know you weren't endangering Elwyn, Dustin said yes.
Correct.
In talking about Caitlyn, Dustin said there was probably a good half hour up to where she grabbed Elwyn and was not letting Elwyn go.
Yes.
We'll back up a little bit to the start of the interview. You read Dustin his Miranda rights?
Yes.
You told him he didn't have to answer your questions?
Yes.
You told him he had the right to speak to an attorney?
Yes.
Dustin told you he understood his rights?
Yes.
He told you he was willing to answer questions?
Yes.
He didn't have an attorney present when you asked him questions?
He did not.
He didn't ask to speak to an attorney before he answered your questions?
He did not.
He answered your questions?
He did.
Sometimes he volunteered information that hadn't been asked?
A lot of information.
And Dustin told you that he and Caitlyn had agreed to move to New Hampshire,
Yes.
that they agreed to this in July or August of 2023.
That's correct. Yes.
He told you then Caitlyn sent all their stuff to Minnesota.
She ordered pods to send her stuff to Minnesota. I'm not clear if, because he also said that a lot of her stuff was left in Nevada, so I'm not clear. I think her intent was to send it to Minnesota, but I'm not clear on that totally.
Okay, thank you. And that whatever she did with the pods and the stuff, she did that without saying anything?
Dustin said the first he learned of it when the pods actually arrived, so yes.
Are you saying that he didn't say that that was without her saying anything?
My recollection is that he didn't know, so he didn't know, which I guess you could assume she didn't say anything, but he didn't know until the pods actually arrived that he didn't order. Or that she had ordered.
And he said that she took their 1-year-old without Dustin knowing,
Yes,
that Caitlyn took the stroller like she was going to the park,
yes,
that several hours later, Caitlyn and the 1-year-old hadn't returned,
correct.
that Dustin went to the park to look for them and they hadn't returned,
They were not at the park, yes,
and Dustin tried to call her, like, what is going on?
correct.
And Caitlyn was at the airport,
That's what he said, yes,
bringing their 1-year-old to Minnesota.
yes.
And Dustin then spoke to you about returning to Minnesota, and he said that eventually he and Caitlyn had a sit-down with the two of them and Caitlyn's dad,
Yes,
and Dustin suggested, can we just continue to move to New Hampshire?
yes,
Caitlyn agreed,
that's what he said, yes,
and he said they agreed to stay in Minnesota until Valen's birthday.
Valen's birthday, Christmas, some of the holidays, yes, yes.
And that they would then continue on to New Hampshire.
I'm not clear, it's not clear to me if by they, he meant himself and Elowen, sorry, or all four of them.
But he said part of the agreement was for Dustin to drive to New Hampshire with Elowen,
Yes,
and then the plan was for Caitlyn to fly out with Valen.
yes,
He told you that Caitlyn kept asking for more and more money.
yes,
He told you that she kept threatening to take the kids away.
correct. I'm not sure if that meant custodially through the courts or something else.
I'm not asking what it meant, I'm just asking what he said, right?
Yes.
Which is that Caitlyn kept threatening to take the kids away.
Yes,
And every month it was the same thing of her wanting more money with threats of taking the kids away.
that's accurate.
He said when Dustin and Elowen got to New Hampshire, Caitlyn got more aggressive with her threats.
But yes, and more aggressive with asking for money.
Caitlyn was saying she was going to keep Valen in Minnesota unless Dustin started paying her money.
That sounds correct.
They had a phone call where Caitlyn was yelling that she was going to have Dustin arrested.
I'm not sure about the yelling, but that sounds correct.
Would it refresh your recollection if I showed you the transcript? May I approach?
But the transcript is wrong.
Mark for
You
ideas,
just argued the
page
transcript is
32,
wrong.
on the top, page 37. Here to where she was yelling that she was gonna have me arrested. So he told you that Caitlyn was yelling that she was going to have you arrested?
Yes, him arrested.
Have him arrested, yes, apologize. That she was threatening to put Dustin in prison and take the kids away?
Yes,
That Caitlyn was lying and saying he had taken Elowen to New Hampshire without her permission?
yes,
And Dustin said that after that phone call, he reached out to both of Caitlyn's parents.
yes,
He was trying to get her family to help out.
yes,
He reached out specifically to Caitlyn's mom after Caitlyn threatened to arrest him and take the kids away.
yes,
He had also been talking to her dad about it.
yes,
Dustin said he asked Caitlyn's dad to check on Valen
yes,
because Dustin wasn't seeing Valen and wanted to make sure she was okay.
that's correct.
Dustin reached out to a Minnesota lawyer.
That's what he said, yes,
Dustin was afraid that Caitlyn was going to lie to the police and have some sort of raid on the house.
yes,
Dustin told you he called the Berlin Police Department,
he did.
and he said the Berlin Police Department said they wouldn't get involved.
Something to that effect, yes.
I want to turn now to what Dustin said about the incident itself. He described Caitlyn refusing to leave.
Yes,
He said Caitlyn was getting more and more aggressive.
yes,
He said Caitlyn told him she was going to take the kids away from him.
yes,
Caitlyn told him she was going to call the cops and have him arrested.
yes,
Caitlyn grabbed Elowen and was not letting her go.
Yes.
She was again threatening to take the kids.
Yes.
Caitlyn was saying she was going to take Valen and Elowen back to Minnesota.
That's what he said. Yes.
Dustin tried to grab Elowen and be like, hey, let go of Elowen.
Yes.
And Caitlyn just wouldn't let go.
It's my understanding.
Caitlyn had Elowen in a full bear hug,
Bear hug. Yes.
a two hands bear hug.
Yes.
That's a
And he made
bear hug.
motion to demonstrate.
He did.
Dustin tried to grab Elowen a couple times,
Yes.
but he
Sounds
couldn't
like a
pull that
normal
much
thing
because
that
he
happens.
didn't want to hurt Elowen.
Yes.
Elowen was yelling.
I don't know if she was yelling or crying. If that's what the transcript says, then
And
yes.
It said both, right? He told you Elowen was yelling and
Cor-
Elowen was crying.
I recall crying.
None of this sounds like something where you need to shoot somebody in the head. So
He said that Caitlyn was holding Elowen forcefully enough to cause her to cry.
I asked a question about that, and the question, my question, I got kind of a combination of the two, forcibly enough and also the arguing.
And also the arguing, but both of those were causing her to cry.
Combination of the two, yes.
yeah,
He
what do you
said
think
it
a
was
kid's gonna
very,
do?
very fast, very deliberate.
The shooting,
Yes.
yes.
Very, very fast, very deliberate was the phrase.
Yes.
He said it was very quick.
Yes.
He said he grabbed the gun, chambered it, grabbed Elowen, pulled her back and shot.
Yes.
He said it was immediate.
Yes.
He said it happened super fast.
Yes.
He said, right when I shot, it was immediately, I just grabbed Elowen.
That doesn't sound accurate.
That doesn't sound accurate?
No. I think there's more to that sentence. Grabbed Elowen and put her in the car.
All right. This, what's marked for ID is states 32. This is that corrected transcript that you talked about, you reviewed and sure was accurate.
Okay.
And it says, and then right when I shot, it was
60.
60.
And
It
I
said,
object at this point, if she's using it to refresh recollection, this is not appropriate.
Sustained.
may we approach?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, let's approach. Remember when you yesterday said, not yesterday, on Tuesday said, hey, Judge, they're reading from the report. I don't want them to read the report, only to refresh their memory. Now, hey, can you read this?
Like, going over the stuff she's going over does nothing for him at all. It makes me feel like even more of like, you were just mad, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, you just didn't want to lose the kid.
Like, we all know people that have been in a custody battle. Sounds very typical. It's not even like you didn't even, it's not like you had an order or anything. You needed to get that done. And yeah, if you're sitting there, she's bear hugging her kid and then you're grabbing the kid trying to, grab the kid away and then everybody's yelling, of course the kid's going to cry.
Yeah.
Sure. You're fighting in front of the kid.
And then someone fires a gun next to it. Yeah, of course its ears hurt. And of course they were crying and screaming. And it's a 4-year-old.
Well, yeah.
It's again, she said, owie, my ear hurt. Oh yeah, because I'll call a 4-year-old to the stand and let her talk about what happened that night. Of course I will. Nothing is as believable as a 4-year-old. Maybe a 3-year-old. It was the 4-year-old she had with her.
Yeah.
The 1-year-old was already in the car. So he put the 1-year-old in the car, and then they went in and had a fight, and he shot the mom and took the 4-year-old out there.
Yeah.
Because I always put a 1-year-old in a car alone. That's one of the best places to have them. Yeah, it's not like we can be judgmental.
Yeah, he's claiming self-defense, Moni.
I don't get how, with this testimony, how the state can, or the defense could go with a self-defense.
I mean,
I,
that was his whole thing is she was bear hugging my child and hurting the child.
yeah, and a bear hug, that's just,
There for the day. We'll resume at 9 o'clock tomorrow.
She was threatening me.
Again, I remind you to not discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't conduct any research whatsoever about any matter you've heard relative to this trial or on any other subject that could impact your eventual determination of the issues at hand. If you do, again, I remind you there's a media presence, and I instruct you to avoid any media coverage of what's happening in the courtroom, and to go so far as to try to prevent any inadvertent exposure. With that, we'll see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you for your patience and your understanding.
All right.
But Coke Fairy, how can kidnapping be in play when they didn't even have a court order of anybody had custody of the children?
yeah, and she wasn't trying to take the kid. She was just
Yeah.
sitting with the kid on the couch, saying, "I'm not going to leave."
Yeah.
Then
Well,
you
just
call the cops.
empty threats. I mean,
Yeah.
so
And are they gonna? No, he said them to recess.
yeah, he
That
said
was
it's
a
done
weird.
till 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, but why didn't we get this one done and then the state could rest?
I know, I don't know.
It
Because
was
it's
so
4 o'clock and he wants to be done at 4.
But it's just stupid. Why not just get him over and done and go half an hour late? It's not like they haven't been early the other days. We had a full
Right.
day off yesterday, and he said we're going to go a little bit longer Thursday. A little bit longer was absolutely not at all.
No.
Jamie, what did we learn today?
Well, I was just gonna, all I'm gonna say is all it sounds like to me is they were having what most couples that aren't together anymore that have kids together have an argument, and he's butthurt because she's going, I'm gonna take the kids from you. Okay, let her then. Go to court then
Yeah.
and figure it out. Say, okay, well, you're not going to. I'm going to go to court and we're gonna, work this out and get this figured out. And also, I don't believe all this self-defense stuff because unless there's a history of she's abusive to the children, he's just trying to protect them, and knowing that the mom would take the kids would be detrimental to them. You're kind of you jumped off a cliff with this one, guy. Anyways, my thoughts.
Oh, the kid was in the car seat in the hall. But they stated Tuesday that the kid was in the car. Well, I can't figure out this case anymore. I just know that nothing that has been said has anything to do with self-defense or defense of others. Because if she was holding her in a bear hug, but he then grabs the gun and grabs the kid, and then he shoots the mom in the head. Where the moment he has control of the kid, the defense of others goes away. Bye, Jamie. The defense of others goes away. He has control of the kid. He says he has the kid in his arms, and then he pulls the trigger. That's not defense of others. That's just an unaliving. Again, at that time, he is in control of the kid. He doesn't need to kill her because she's not. He didn't say, and she attacked me. He said, I grabbed the kid and then I shot her. I don't understand.
Yeah.
What this is.
Well, and even leading up to, because now that they're going over leading up to, it's that's what was leading up to it. She was saying, I'm going to take my kids. Oh, let me bear hug the child. And then you're grabbing at the kid. And then he's claiming he had to do what he had to do because she was crying because, well, was she crying because everybody's yelling and everybody's grabbing at her? Like you got
Yeah,
to be kidding.
and you're pulling in the kid. Are you hurting it as much as the one who's holding it against you are pulling in it?
Yeah.
Uh,
Because the
don't
opening
don't
statement when she
irritate.
said, "Oh, he heard her yelp and he had to act," and it's like,
Yeah,
why? Because you were probably in the mix too. I mean, come on.
and exactly that's the thing. And is the kids yelping because they are doing tug of war with it, or because mom and dad is screaming at each other?
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I got divorced. Is my kid cried every time my ex-wife and I yelled at each other, and we yelled at each other a lot. That's why I said it's better for the kids I'm not here, because I can be a good dad if I'm not with their mom, and I think they agree. And my daughter was 2 years old. Every time she could hear my wife's voice go into the "I'm going to start yelling," she started crying. So
Yeah. It can mess people up, especially kids.
yeah. Oh, look who's happy for her new nickname. And I didn't even give it to her. We don't know where the kids are now.
Yeah.
Stop naming your kids weird names. I don't think the weird names has anything to do with the unaliving. So that's I don't think that's the reason why. Oh my god. Yeah, and again, would it have given her the right to shoot him? Because he was trying to hurt the kid by dragging it away from her. It's an absolute stupid explanation he just gave to the police. And this guy, he wasn't coaxed to it. You can talk about the guy in Memphis where they yelled at him, "You're gonna go Doc Richards for the next 50 years if you don't come clean." Yeah, I would say that probably was a little dirty tactic now and again. They are allowed to do it, but it's a little dirty. In this case, he was just yep, 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 yep. And it was the weirdest interrogation I've ever seen. Yeah. And I don't. Can I use this as a defense? Because can they look into my story? Because I had the big sad and I tried to unalive myself. I never found out where he got the big sad from because he was a shooting instructor. He never said, well, after my deployments, I came home and had the big sad. It was more like the officer said, well, you used to be a Marine, so you got some PTSD or something, because everyone believes that any soldier has PTSD. It's, yeah. Major Mom, we're getting close to the state resting. I actually thought we would get the state resting today. We just watched 2 hours of video where this guy gave absolutely none explanation that was anywhere near self-defense. Nowhere near. It's so bad that even Sue agrees.
So bad, even Sue agrees.
Did he mention Iraq? I didn't hear that. Maybe it's because I was more interested in hearing about how he really liked the desert. If you really liked the desert, you should have stayed in Iraq. It was more of a monologue, autobiography. His story held nothing in the defense attorney put forth in the opening. No, because the defense attorney said he was trying to save this kid from his mom, who was bear hugging it so it was crying. And he said, no, she was bear hugging and I was talking on the kid. She didn't say, he didn't say, well, she was pressing her, so I was afraid she was going to strangle it. Then I could see why you go to the next level. But he never said that. And again, he had control of the kid when he pulled the trigger. And to me, that takes away the self-defense part of it. I don't know.
No,
Why
I
didn't the
agree,
state
because
call
like
the?
once he had that kid out
If
of
he
harm's
wasn't
way,
there, so there's no reason to call them. Why should they call them to have them say, yeah, she was really afraid of him, and it was really, that's for the defense to call them.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they stayed with an old Iraqi body. I read that. I'm sorry, John. I forgot that. Jamie, you said something while I was answering because you're on delay.
Oh, why am I on delay? That's so annoying.
But every time I start talking, you just start talking too.
Oh.
Maybe it's because you hate me that much and just want to talk.
Probably, I just want to talk over you. No, I was agreeing with you when you said, like once the kid was, I said, yeah, once the kid, I feel like once the kid was in his arms,
Yeah.
he could have just held it at her and said, get out of here or whatever. He didn't have to pull the trigger.
Again, even if you had a force multiplier, smack her in the face with it and get out of the house. If she's so, but he didn't say she jumped at me. He didn't say she was strangling the kid. All of that I would have accepted as well. Then you might have had to do it. All he said was she was bear hugging the kid. And that's not enough for me to make it self-defense when he has, because he could go to a table, pick up a pew-pew, rack the slide, grab the kid, and then shoot her. Then he could have left out the last step, grab the kid, walk away, pick up the child's seat, go to the neighbor's house, knock, say, please call the police. My ex-wife is absolutely crazy.
Yeah. I agree. I think she was just using a lot of empty threats and just ticked him off and I mean,
Yeah,
sounds like a pretty typical fight between a mom and a dad that have kids and are obviously in a terrible relationship.
Torbjørn is a name you use in Denmark. It's coming back. Yeah, I haven't heard any self-defense. He could have hit her. He could have pushed her down. He could just have walked away. Again, she was seated on the couch with apparently one leg on the coffee table. Where is the imminent threat that he had to defend himself for? And again, let's use a good old Bender. I'm sitting in the couch with my leg up, holding my kid, and where is the necessary threat when you remove the kid from this equation? There's no immediate danger. She had no weapon. There's no immediate danger in someone placed in this position. That's my biggest problem. She could just be sitting with the kids and say, "Oh, calm down. Mama's not going to leave you. Give me the kid. We're leaving."
Mm-hmm.
Could as well have been that. And then, because this was what stood out to me. She was in a seated position on the couch, even if she had both legs down when she was slumped over. And it might have, I don't know. But she was seated on the couch. And it didn't look like she just flopped backwards after she attacked him. And this is the entry point. That's not where I would expect a self-defense wound to be on someone. To me, it seems it would be a place I would pew-pew someone if I tried to make something look like a self-deletion that went wrong.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is we're only hearing his side of the story, and his side of the story sucks.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing all this danger. She was freaking out. She had the kids. She was, like you said, choking them out, like threatening to like off herself and off the kids because he wouldn't let her have them. I don't know, you know, all the things that could have happened.
Yeah. I don't know, Jamie. We have to come back tomorrow and see the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna leave you there, and we'll come back tomorrow. I've gotten the latest filing in the Krusty O'Pandy, so if we wake up early tomorrow, we'll have a Unity stream and looking at the newest victim intimidation charge against good old Crust herself. See you later.
What exhibit are you referring to?
I'm going to make this 100, Your Honor.
All right.
100.
100.
Because it is 100%
100%.
correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
So you literally built a cannon?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, I'm in love. Go back. Please do that again. Oh, that was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
While I'm waiting for this, did you, whether it's true or not, believe that Mr. Randolph had slept with your wife?
I wouldn't care.
You wouldn't have cared?
No,
Did you believe he had slept with your wife?
no,
Did you believe he slept with your mother-in-law?
probably did. Everybody has.
So there.
Everybody